Roll.
Slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, but you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty! Let's roll!
Just give me the bumper music. Just give it to me. Just give it to me. No commercials. Give it to me.
Bump.
Yes!
Yes, a winner!
Woo! We're off to a good start.
So basically, after 95 podcasts, it went right. Whew.
Yes.
I was thinking we were like Zippy Chippy in horse racing. If you don't know who Zippy Chippy is, look him up.
1 out of 95.
Zippy Chippy never even got the 1. We're better than Zippy Chippy.
I love this. 1 out of 95. 1 out of 95. 1 out of 95. Well, I'll just do a dab. Give it to me. Totally legal.
Well, the placement's questionable.
Live from Trenton, New Jersey, it's the Sativa Cross Ignorance is No Excuse podcast. I'm here with Jim Miller.
Who is here with Lefty Grimes.
And we're here to talk about medical and social cannabis in New Jersey.
We're going to really try to stay on point today. Kind of goes with the territory, though. You can have a cannabis-based podcast. Sometimes you lose your way a little and get into peripheral issues.
I like the wheelchair war.
Well, that is, but this is your podcast. You get to talk about whatever you want.
We got 5 new wheelchair ramps in Bayonne. 5.
5.
Total of 5. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
We're talking about it now.
No, we're going to tease it. That's
okay. More later.
Yeah. More later about how my assault charge went in Bayonne.
Lefty Grimes got ramps in Bayonne. We'll tell you how.
We'll tell you later. Story at noon.
I hate that, but I want to get in on it now, Something that may save your life. We'll tell you later,
I love that.
You would. Yeah, we're approaching the end of a career here in a regularity.
Yeah.
So what is this sticky stuff on the table that's brown? Is this something that spilled that had value? Shall I be licking it up?
That's oil. This is all hash oil or coffee, or a mixture of both.
Okay.
My 2 favorite things.
I was right in my guess. It might be something worth consuming at a later date if you run out. Things are happening at an incredible pace with legalization.
I'll say it.
It's open season, and the more the merrier sometimes. But we are working with and happy that Laura Carter and Jason Arnold are working diligently to make sure that people in Trenton know the Green Rush is coming and that they do get to take part and that there is no target on their back. And to, just to be able to receive the information, look for the information instead of wait till it's upon us. And then it's kind of too late. So that's, it's going to be interesting. I feel it. I mean, there just is, Leah Bridgewater gave a pretty good account of the Cannabis Association. Is that what it's called? You were there.
New Jersey Cannabis.
Yeah, well, you were there. When was that?
That was a couple of weeks ago at that beautiful golf course.
Yeah, we talked about it at the Coalition monthly meeting Tuesday. And apparently it was well attended. I mean, you would think a handful of people would come out.
It was packed in a very diverse crowd.
And
it wasn't just rich white people.
I heard that if we had a table set up there, it could have sold some serious stuff. I don't know about your Don't Shoot on White, but even that probably sell. People come in there wanting to leave with a little something,
I had a lot of people coming up to me, like, "You're Lefty Grimes." I'm like, "Yeah, who are you?" Like, "I'm such and such. I love your videos." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Thanks, man." Cool.
Haven't had that objection come in from somebody. "Hey, are you Lefty Grimes?" You got to realize when to say no, but if you see him, he owes me money, would you get in touch with me?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the punch in the face. "You're Lefty?" Bam! And that was Dr. Med. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Dr. Med was there too. I love him. He was great.
Yeah, well,
Said hi.
We talked, and I think I told you I straightened out the vision he would get with somebody who would destroy their glass jar in the ground for photo op. Well, that's what he got. That's what it sounded like.
I know. It's crazy, right?
So I straightened him out about that and explained the things that we do and how we overlap and, where we overlap, we take good advantage of. And I think he, that was the first visit. We were talking about you in my initial visit to become a patient.
Oh, that's good. It's productive.
Yeah.
Waste of time on me. That was such a horrible thing that happened in the Linden. I'm still going to court for that. I'm on my third prosecutor.
When is?
Wednesday evening.
And that's for a procedural thing?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Wednesday evening.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll have a new prosecutor, apparently. It may be Scutari. It may be Nick Scutari. It may be someone else. I don't know what to expect. They throw different prosecutors at me. Is that fair? To just?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to just
can do that.
Throw different people at you?
Yeah, when Cheryl and I were arrested, or actually it was only me arrested at Bob Barr's office. But we went to trial way down in Washington as soon as they saw how the condition Cheryl was in. They didn't say, "We want to postpone." They said, "We're dropping the charge that we have. We're going to drop that and institute 2 new charges. Would you like to proceed?" Now, my lawyer, of course, said, "Well, no, but thanks for asking." And that's their way of postponing. And then what they did is they then changed her for a higher-powered lawyer. They sent in the big guns,
They're sending me a different idiot each time, it seems. The one they sent was dumber than the next. Dumbass, actually. I called her a dumbass, and she ran into the judge and said, "Your Honor, Lefty Grimes called me a dumbass."
He's called the governor worse.
And the judge says to me, "Mr. Grimes, you can't call your prosecutor names." I said, "But Your Honor, Mr. Grimes, which I will get you a new prosecutor. Would you be happy with a new prosecutor?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor."
That's fun for the crowd, if there's a crowd, but I don't know.
This is what I'm dealing with, Jim.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about you saying this is what I'm dealing with, Nick,
Right.
So if he becomes your prosecutor and you use me as a witness, he'd be asking me questions.
Possibly.
I'm not saying I'd do it, but it would be really fun during an answer to take a swipe at the fact that he didn't monitor his own law properly, and if you had left, he wouldn't be here. "Your Honor, I was stricken for," In other words, I wouldn't do that, though, because That's the part of me that thinks a cool thing to do, but it would be
So
not
many
good.
things are going through my head, and I want to be nice and credible and
Well, at the time of the trial, that's your only surprise that you have. Suit and tie, or jacket and tie, or whatever.
Right.
And then really choosing your demeanor and sticking with it and having some bullet points that you know you get to throw out when you need them.
right.
You know?
Yeah, I'm all for that, but apparently they don't like being filmed in their prosecutor's office, so I'm going to keep doing that because they don't like it.
Yeah, well.
That's what they don't like. They've done things I didn't like throughout my life.
Yeah, but they hold power over you. You have power over them in the way of openly disseminating information for everybody. That's what you got.
All right, they don't like that. They don't like being exposed.
No,
to
they
the
don't like
the
that.
racist
Generally
system.
speaking, you know my theory. When it comes to the opposition to this, if it's something they want, I don't want it. If it's something they don't want, I do want it. So if there's somebody they don't like, I like that person as far as we can go
Yeah.
together. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yep.
But, you know, in this case, all you got is they think you're a known product, and you get to make a statement. This is really, because this is up to a judge. So you get to make a statement.
Right.
But the judge is only going to see what the judge sees, not what Nick Scutari tells him, not what anybody tells him.
Right.
He's going to see that. You got
She's a Cassandra Colbert, I think, or Corbett.
Well, anyway, you know, I don't know, maybe you might want to stick to the fact that this is your medicine and the fact that you're basically accused of deliberately destroying that, which is something you would never.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's.
And spitting my medicine out when I needed it for my pain is just, that's not what you do when you're in pain. You want your
Yeah.
medicine in you, not outside of you.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between having something in your mouth and it coming out and spitting it out.
Oh, yeah.
How do you drop it from your mouth without your hands?
Right.
I mean, where were your hands?
Behind my back.
Okay, and they were held behind your back.
Yes.
You were already cuffed.
He was grabbing my
Yeah.
arms at that point.
Now,
I was,
how do you get rid of you don't want the joint in your mouth anymore? What do you do? Do you ask them, please take this out of my mouth? That'd be disrespectful. You don't want to show them up. See, just, yeah, right. Well, do you have night court?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, that makes it easier should you need a witness, you know?
I'm surprised it's going to court. If Scutari's my
It's not,
prosecutor,
you assume it's going to court.
I'm going to ask him, why are we going through court with this?
Not necessarily.
So we're not. I don't think we are. He's not going to put Birch on the stand to perjure himself.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen.
I don't know. I'm just going to give broad advice, and advice is cheap, it's free.
That's a bad thing to call a woman a broad, just saying. Dame is more appropriate.
Yeah, I never thought of a dame as being anything other. I thought that's a respectful word of the time.
It was.
Yeah, that's somebody that's cool, nice, you know. Quite a dame.
How about broad?
Yeah,
Broad's kind of derogatory.
broad's a little more. Yeah.
Nobody likes you guys.
Hi, Danny.
Careful. You might have just opened up a can of worms. You don't know.
Thanks for the can of chicken last week. You gave us a good can of chicken, what we found. Thank you. We'll be giving it to the people of Trenton on Thursday, November 23rd. Is that the date? November 23rd. We'll be here on Thanksgiving giving away food, clothing,
Yes.
a train set.
Come eat with us. Bring friends.
Yep, hot food.
When?
We'll have
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well have. Here, grab the mic so I can hear you. What's up?
Hi. Did you hear about old popcorn?
What's up with old popcorn?
He used to be a colonel.
We got nobody for a rim shot here. Okay, I told you. Can of worms. How long did it take for me to be right there?
I'm gonna let that linger.
Oh, you know what I've been thinking about? It's been really.
No, I'm not sure, you know.
No. It's been
What color is
all
that?
day.
Yellow, yellow, get ready.
Danny,
Yeah.
interview these fine gentlemen.
Oh, okay.
How you guys doing, man? Can you guys get cannabis for your illnesses or no? In Trenton, you can't, right? It's hard. It's Danny, give him a mic. We're the medical cannabis warriors here, and we're trying to fight for cannabis in New Jersey because you can't get it. It's very hard to get, especially. We don't even have does Trenton have a dispensary?
No.
No, not at all. No.
Nope.
I don't think they're going to have one anytime soon.
Well, that's the whole thing in the law. There's 6 dispensaries now.
Yeah.
The 6th one is gearing up, so that's going to be it for a while. However, it's 94 days till we have a new governor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're podcasting, so this is broadcasting.
Yeah, man.
Is it live Facebook or no?
Not yet. I'll do Facebook in a little while because I only have 2 hours of Facebook time. Well, let's go live now.
Let's go live.
Let's do it.
On Facebook. More people watch on Facebook than on the YouTube channel, oddly enough. So anyway, this is, of course, we do this every Thursday from April to Thanksgiving. This is the 3rd year.
Yeah.
But this Thanksgiving, we're done after this year because it's really a grind action every Thursday. 2/3 of a year, you got to be here, set up, breakdown, all that. So we're calling it quits, but the last 2 years we quit the Thursday before Thanksgiving, and that'll be a total of 99 podcasts. How are you going to quit a thing like that after 3 years with 99? Got to have 100.
Yeah.
So we're going to set up earlier and closer to the road. On Thanksgiving, I'll be here by 9 o'clock. We're going to be collecting, I believe, some non-perishables that'll be donated to. Do you remember the name of the place, Lefty, that Jason and Laura?
Rescue Mission.
Rescue Mission. And we're going to be having turkey dinner, lunch, whatever, and that's for everybody. So I don't know what you're doing on Thanksgiving, but most people don't do stuff till like 1 o'clock or whatever. People having people over and stuff. This is either for people not going to a Thanksgiving dinner or they want to come by at 11 o'clock and have a little something, little food. And since it's the last podcast, and Lefty's a medical marijuana patient, I'm a medical marijuana patient, once we get far enough away from the door, we're allowed to use our medicine all day long.
$20 for don't shoot, I'm white, don't shoot, I'm black, don't shoot, I'm butthurt, don't shoot, I'm a veteran. Are you a veteran? We got veterans in there. Okay, don't shoot, I'm a veteran. Don't shoot, I'm running away on the back.
Yeah, that one you wear on the back, though.
Yeah.
I love it when I see that you're on a back.
Yeah. Well, Philip really gets so many compliments when he wears that. Yeah, that there. Don't shoot, I'm running away. And of course, that goes on the back. Somebody put one on it. I mean, that's the back of the shirt. Otherwise, But it's kind of right. So that goes on the front. It's the only shirt with it reversed. All his other shirts are like that.
So what's this for?
What's that?
What's this for? What's that for?
This here is a magical butter machine. It takes cannabis or other products, but this is where people can make edible medicines, patients. And the maker of this donates some to us that we can give away to people. And it's usually works out to be a child or somebody that has a child because they have epilepsy, and cannabis is legal for them in New Jersey. So there are children, they're babies up through, and yeah, and this really helps the parents make edible products.
So this is to make it.
Yeah, speak into their mic because people can hear you then. I mean, beyond here, they hear you. It's broadcast live on YouTube and stored.
So y'all here to try to.
Well, what we're doing for the last couple of years was making sure that our medical marijuana law becomes more accessible to more people because it's like way too closed off.
And it's
really
too
not
far.
good. But the Coalition for Medical Marijuana started in 2003. So Lefty and I are teaming up. I'm the co-founder of the coalition. Lefty's I've known Lefty for a really long time, and this is what he does. So we team up once a week and do this. But what happened is the Coalition for Medical Marijuana was formed because back in the 2003 it was, well, you guys really want legalization. Well, individually, but that's not the point. And people kept trying to say that's what's going to happen next. And we're like, well, it's two separate issues. We want to get sick people off that battlefield now. So we did to a degree, and then we realized so few people. At the time it was maybe 5,000 after like 3 years. Should have been 100,000. So we have a board of directors, and we voted unanimously to support legalization because that's the only way all patients will get their medicine, adult patients.
So do they got dispensaries anywhere in Jersey or?
Yeah, I'm a patient. Lefty's a patient. I go to Belmar down 295 up where it meets up with 42, about 25 minutes from here. Okay. Give or take. And I've been a patient for 2 weeks, so I'm still looking over my shoulder when I drive. But now, and the ironic part is now that I'm a patient, I don't have the money to afford it anyway, really, only little drips. But see, I have little lozenges, edibles. This is from the state of New Jersey. Medicine comes in a package with all the information, so I'm obeying all laws right now having this.
Okay.
My grinder is good, yeah. I at the moment am using a little bullet device because, you know, it's funny. I used to like these because it doesn't keep smoking like a pipe or a joint. But now I don't care because I'm legal. I can drive down the road right after smoking in my car, and then I can drive away. I'm not violating.
You think it's ever going to be legal?
Yes, I do. Yes. I think it's going to happen this next year. No, I really do. And, you know, there's a lot of people in different directions working to make sure everybody's aware of this. And I don't know where the next event's going to be, but there's some Trenton natives, you know, regulars that been here forever, working to make sure that we see this coming. You know what I mean? The fact that you're asking that now, what's that?
Can I see how the edibles look?
Yeah. This is what the
is that the lozenge?
The state of New Jersey sells. So basically, it's just a lozenge. They put it under your tongue.
Tastes like crap.
Yeah, they taste like crap. This is apple flavored crap.
That's good though.
But you
kids
know,
won't eat it.
It doesn't. Yeah, it really gets into your. Well, no, this is what the state of New Jersey makes these. These I go buy at a dispensary. You know.
But what is it?
This is actually, I'm not sure of the grammage of THC in each one of these. I do know that it's $60 for 30, and one of them really gets a nice sort of a base.
Yeah.
You know, and then I take an inhalation route. It doesn't take as much that way, so I like that. And that I get to talk about it, I get to show it. You know, I can put this stuff up on my dashboard, it don't matter. You know?
Yeah.
The best film.
I'm not used to that yet, though. How long does that take? So it's the legalization that it won't happen if people like, not just us, but people like yourselves, if this is something you think is a good thing, if you just keep your eyes and ears open, you will be seeing people saying, hey, come out once a month. The Trenton Cannabis, help me out, Laura and Jason's thing.
Trenton Cannabis
Community awareness.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay,
Trenton
have a nice day.
Yeah, cannabis community awareness. If you ever hear stuff going on, we show up there, people show up there. Thanks for stopping on by.
Thanks, guys.
And take part if you can, though.
Yeah, talk to your doctor. You can get cannabis for a lot of things in New Jersey. Just living in Trenton, you have PTSD.
Yeah, you could make that case.
You can make that case. Just living here, you have PTSD. So go to your doctor and get cannabis for your PTSD. That's not a joke. There's gunshots all over the place here in Trenton. Kids being shot.
You want to know?
It's rapes and murders everywhere.
Something, when I got my, I went to buy some legal state-sanctioned cannabis after last podcast. And I got there. There was a few people waiting, you know, not really a line, just talking. And a guy in front of me turned around and started talking to me, and then he mentioned without me asking, well, I have PTSD. That's why I get it. I go, well, I bet I know about when you got your card, too, then. And I explained what we do. And he was genuinely grateful for our effort, you know, and a person that was helped by what we've been doing. And then two people in front of him was another veteran, and he said to me shortly after, I didn't mean to be eavesdropping, but I heard what you said, and I want to, thank you, and I appreciate it because I have PTSD as well. So I said, thank you for your service, and he goes, no, thank you for your service. I got thank you for your service from a veteran for what we did for PTSD, which is like for everybody. It's not like me patting myself on the back. I'm patting all of us on the back for that one. It really feels good. You know, it's something like 900 people with PTSD entered the program in 2 months. Something like that. Imagine that. Imagine that amount of PTSD getting treated legally all in a 2-month period.
That's a lot of suffering, man.
It's a lot of suffering, and now people that have hope and they see, you know, one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
Being arrested for trying to take care of yourself.
That's one of the reasons why people with these illnesses don't leave the house, because they're afraid of being arrested. So they stay home, they're shut-ins. Not only the people in wheelchairs are shut-ins, there's other people with diseases shut in for a lot of reasons.
And if you're shut in, you really are at a disadvantage for having access to things, while there are some considerations, like somebody else can pick up your medicine, you know, once they're fingerprinted, vetted, they pay a $200 fee, they get to do that for you, you know.
Wow.
That should be able to come in the mail to them. That should be a delivery system, just like, you know, not now, but used to be. You could order your alcohol, and it would be delivered to you if you're homebound or drinking already.
I can pick up your OxyContin at the pharmacy, can't I?
Yeah.
Easily, right?
I think so. I don't think.
No, Wow.
I gotta go with us. I'll see you.
Okay. So.
Whatever you said it off mic, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, this is good, because we didn't want people to hear that. There is justice in the universe, even if only for a nanosecond. Yeah.
A nanosecond, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's about. We got to take it when we can get it like that. So yeah, we got a 95th podcast today. 4 more regularly weekly scheduled with the coup de grace, Thanksgiving. And if it'll be how it is. We do have funding for the minimum from the coalition. So, and you know, it's Kathy made a lot of sense suggesting that, you know, you could have it all ready to go. You know, here's a go bag, or, you know, as opposed to open food and stuff, and that's true. Somehow I pictured you and I cutting up turkey, though. You know, don't want to be sitting down after 100 podcasts opening up a Ziploc for a sandwich.
We got to call Paula and find out if she's cooking this turkey. Let's find out. Yeah, we need to find out. Yeah. I can cook it.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't want. You don't call her.
I don't
want
to
put her
cook.
on the spot. You know.
I'm gonna text her first.
Well, you know, you can. Somebody makes dinners. That's their job. This is people order dinners who can't cook, don't have the conditions to cook a full meal, and it gets delivered. And because I'm not cooking anything. Jimmy don't cook. But I will be here in time. We got to figure out, like, people bring stuff. We can't really have it laid out for them to pick over so much. It'll take its own course. And just be very sure that the rescue mission knows we're coming.
What was that? What fell? Nothing fell? Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna text Paula and ask her about this turkey thing. Oh, there goes the phone. That's what fell. There you go. Yeah, I'm running the phone out into my tape. Oh wait, did I just tape in, tape out into the phone? Yeah. I'm trying to. It should. Yeah, I know. It should sound better. I took the effects off it. I think there was effects on it. There's effects on it now, and now the effects are off. I love testing live on the air, but Facebook Live, this is fun. So Jim's tying down the tent here. Did those guys buy no, I guess they didn't buy a shirt, huh? Too bad. Almost sold a shirt. We have Don't Shoot 'em white shirts here. Support the podcast. You can buy one, and you get a bracelet with one. You get one of these really cool bracelets. Sativa Cross. Ignorance is no excuse. And this is our last podcast year here in Trenton with Jim Miller. Anyway, we'll be back maybe once in a while. Who knows? If there's a big event here, we'll come back. There's always something going on. We have our wheelchair war that we just got a 5th wheelchair ramp in Bayonne by being assholes. Seriously. By having the cops called on us, by being threatened, by yelling and screaming, we got 5 ramps. I went to court on Wednesday or Tuesday, and I met with the pharmacy guy, and we had a mediator who said that, you guys need to come together on this. What do you want? I said, I want him to get a ramp. He's like, what? He's like, he assaulted you. What do you want out of this? I said, I want a ramp, a wheelchair ramp. You heard me, buddy. He said, oh, that's what this is about, huh? I said, yeah. So, okay, he wrote some stuff down. We go in front of the judge. The judge says to me, so what happens, he didn't know anything about the case. He said, oh, Coach, we have an assault charge here. So what happens in 30 days when he doesn't do what you want? You going to beat him up, Mr. Grimes? I said, no, I just want a ramp, sir. The judge said, oh, you're that guy who does a do-gooder. He called me a do-gooder, Jim.
With contempt? No, did he call it like, a do-gooder? A do-gooder.
He was happy.
He was happy.
Very happy.
He wasn't condemning you for being a do-gooder.
No, and I explained to the judge that when you see a 10-year-old in a wheelchair, you want to do everything you can for them. You don't want them to jump through more hoops in life. They need less hoops. And the judge was like,
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. What else could somebody say? That's smart.
So
that's a good time.
And I shook the pharmacist's hand. I said, good job. I said, Judge, this was a compassionate man here. I'm sure he's going to do the right thing. I shook his hand. We walked out the court. I wish that was on film. But
you mean you didn't have the capability?
He would have thrown me in jail.
Oh, yeah.
He had a speech for like a half an hour about cell phones. So we were like, okay, no problem. He said, I will confiscate your phone, and I will throw you in jail for 30 days.
Actually throw you? You wouldn't just have somebody lead you there?
Al Crusher would come and kick you in the chest.
Al Crusher. Yeah, well, you're getting stuff done because it's the right stuff for them to do, and you get to what they would call play the disabled child card. But I mean, you're talking about a pharmacy. There's a pretty good likelihood somebody's going to walk in with a disabled child. It's going to happen. So 5. What, 100 or so to go then? So how about if one success that you had has a ramp, to put out so somebody can get in, as long as they, that count as a success too.
It would. Your Domino's was surprising. We went to Domino's. We went there 6 months ago. They had no ramp. We went back there. Suddenly a ramp appears. We were so happy. It was great.
Maybe you could get a little sticker made and ask them to put them in the window that says problems with access, please call. Which would mean they have access. If you have a problem, of course, they might say no, but they might say yes. This place is made secure by Lefty Grimes. Little stickers.
Yeah, I want a blue sticker with the little wheelchair access thing, and you want that sticker. You want to be inclusive. You want to fight for that sticker on your store window. That's something you want as a store owner in Bayonne. You want to include everyone.
It's really kind of a good idea. I mean, if you could dream up something they would like to have there.
I spent the day in the municipal building talking to the building planners, the zoning officers, the permitting people, the lawyer, the spokesperson, the urban enterprise zone people, trying to find out more information about wheelchair ramps and about all this other stuff that's going on there in Bayonne. And
Did you try calling groups that advocate for people with disabilities? See what they know?
I did. We called them on the podcast a few weeks ago. We should call them back.
Yeah, I don't know if you really could have got something by calling them otherwise, or first, say, we'd like to call you on the podcast. Give me a chance to say no. Oh, I like, certain times, it's absolutely, you want to call them and stun them with the, you're on air.
You're on air.
How quick can you say you're on the air?
You're on air.
You're on air.
There we go. Hello, Danny. So Michelle and Carol are here, but they're medicating in the car legally without the keys in the ignition, because the keys are right here.
Yeah.
So they're smoking up over there. I can see a big cloud of smoke here in Trenton. It's a wonderful thing, beautiful thing. And look what I just did.
I got a good topic. I got a great topic.
Was that me? Did I do that to them?
I don't know. Car alarm going off.
You think she needs any help? I'll run over.
Did you do that to them?
By slapping my hand on my keys?
That's odd.
I got a good issue.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad enough you're saying how it's okay and you can see the smoke. You want to make sure everybody knows? People of Trenton.
Okay, suppose...
Look at the smoke coming out of the window of that car there, Bernard.
Suppose if Kim wins, right, it's
Yeah.
going to be a D...
If Kim Guadagno, our lieutenant governor.
Yeah, some crazy Italian,
I've been saying Guadagno wrong.
Go on. If she...
Guad.
Yeah, if she go... I didn't mean to say she's...
Okay, but...
I like Italian.
Okay, if she's going...
I think
If
they
she
make
was
my
elected,
equals.
what? Stay to the point, please. Daniel, stay to the point. He's got
5,
his...
4, 3, 2,
Okay,
go.
Kim wants to have a decriminalization.
She says that. But no, she didn't actually say she want to have it. She said, I support decriminalization. That's what she always says.
But she'd sign the bill.
She said she would. Okay, have you ever heard her advocate for that? I mean, she says she supports it, but she's never demonstrated that support till it became convenient during the election as a way to say no to legalization. However, you see, it's not a blanket no, which would be bad. It's a reason so she can say no. If she supported decriminalization, you'd be able to find that somewhere in the public domain with her being lieutenant governor for the number of years she has.
Okay, so there's no, what I'm trying to say is if Kim gets in, kind of jail, right?
Right, what we have now. The normal progression would have been decriminalization because we could get it. But the decriminalization bill that was introduced last session didn't get reintroduced this session, which is now almost over as well.
But
So
Christie's in. Christie would have been in, right?
Well, now maybe the lieutenant governor would have stuck up for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. To the fence. There's a statement to be made there as well. So at this point, I think legalization is entirely possible. It's most likely going to happen without a home grow provision, meaning we will have to purchase it. There will probably be still a thriving black market at much lower price, because if the state doesn't meet, I'm not advocating that because it's not a law. I can't advocate breaking a law that doesn't exist. I get to talk about it. It's all hypothetical until some...
Yeah, a sharp stick.
Not that far away, and unless the leading candidate really had a skeleton in his closet that came out, he's going to be our governor.
And so if they if it goes by decriminalization instead of legalization, the people who are hustling the weed can still be arrested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who have been, who had been, who will have had been. I
doesn't
missed
matter.
that day in school.
Our listening audience wouldn't know.
They shall have will.
Actually, another law. It's a point that the black market, will they be paying less of a penalty then when it's legal than the black market would be paying now with it being illegal no matter what source other than medical. I just think it's just going to be, no matter how it's done, people are going to be disappointed who want it. And it comes from slice of pie, the big slice of the pie. They need the pie. They sell the slices. Why don't they want a slice? You know.
And then.
Will it be high quality at lower cost? Should be something nobody's really asking. But if the price came down to $150 an ounce for upper end quality,
but every year the price of that grass, of that legal grass.
Grass, man, you're an old man, aren't you?
I'm an old dude.
I know.
If you want to get your doobies at the dispensary, you've got to. It's going to go up 7%, right, every year?
I don't know how that goes. I really don't. You know, I think it's more wait and see. Know what you want. I like the idea of home grow, or I like the idea of at least some sort of guarantee of reassessing that after a small time period. But we saw how that worked with the health department. Guarantee, we're going to have reassessment of the conditions that are allowed, and boy, they found ways to delay that for years.
Reassessment.
Well, I mean,
the conditions.
yeah, it should have.
Reassessment.
We're 4 years behind schedule right now from a best case scenario that was too slow in the first place. We're behind too slow of a pace set for people with conditions that weren't in the first round that legislators, in their medical wisdom, deemed were proper, and all the rest weren't. But we can add new conditions. That was what got that through.
You mean the one that Bill Murphy is carrying?
No, I was talking about the medical one.
Medical.
But I'm using that as a cautionary tale for if they say we can reassess this. If they're going to mess with patients with that kind of promise, the Department of Health, the state of New Jersey and business concerns making money will also be able to prohibit and stall anything that'll take their slice of the pie.
We should also mention that CMMNJ is working now and will continue to work to get the marijuana to medical patients, and that is the end product. So if Kim and Bill get blown up by a terrorist attack and they put a new guy in and he says no grass, that won't affect CMMNJ's posture or processes, right?
I don't know.
You think it might?
I don't know. I think I could probably be dead by then. Who knows?
I'm doing that too.
I don't put a lot of thought into stuff like that.
You're old. They die our age every day.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen no matter what we think, Daniel. It's going to happen. And I don't know how much influence we can
over
exercise.
My dead body.
Yeah.
It's going to happen over my dead body. I won't be here. I heard that even if they legalize it, it won't. Then they have to work out all of the questions about distribution, location, sales of licenses.
All of that. It's going to take time. It won't be. If social use of cannabis is legalized and signed into law in 2018, it's going to take over a year, I would think, easily to have an end product in stores for adults to purchase.
What was that?
An end product in stores. It'll be signed into law and legalized. There'll be a date that it's legal, but you're right, it'll be the regulatory process that has to be worked out.
Will legal mean they could sell it in CVS?
That'll be up to the definition of that statute, the provisions in that statute. It'll be whatever it is. And that's where the discussion is going to take place. See, the bill that Senator Scutari introduced and is sitting in committee right now has no home grow provision. It's not meant to be voted on. It's meant to be discussed. What he's saying is this is what you might be expecting in the next session, which begins in January. This is a bill, it's a template. So he's taken feedback, whether he likes it or not, he's getting feedback. And
Scutari.
yeah, and it'll go through, of course, the public process, the committee hearings, where you get to speak, and then the vote onto the full floor. But last time with medical cannabis, we got a decent bill out of the Senate pretty quick, passed on the floor, and the Assembly just yanked the rug out from under so many patients. Herb Conaway, Assemblyman Herb Conaway, Dr. Assemblyman Herb Conaway stood up in Health Committee and said it's going to have no home, that's not happening. The 6 plants patients were allowed under the Senate version. So patients got so screwed with that, but they had their hopes pinned on home grow as adults, and now that's happening again. So what I'm saying is, if we play the cards right, no matter how we play the cards, home grow is not going to be in the bill.
If I killed a chicken
It's
and
not.
hung it outside the State House steps, would that help?
No, I don't think so. It wouldn't help the chicken.
Don't hang a dead chicken out in front of the State House? Okay. And it's got to be featherless.
Dirty
so
socks.
You got to
Nothing
hang
worse than that.
the chicken up
Okay,
with
Dan.
one leg.
I
candles.
appreciate your all-out effort and attitude.
I will light a candle.
Okay, never mind. No, you
And-
won't. Okay, Dan.
Incense.
This means I'm reeling you back. Come back to the light side. What we got, Dan, is we got a possibility to get the medical law to include home grow for patients, or a whole separate law that would allow registered patients in New Jersey's medical marijuana program the same ability to grow plants that would have gotten to them in 2009 if not for Herb Conaway.
I was wondering what we were working on now.
That's-
and this is a good one, Jim. I'm glad you
This
brought this up.
is what we want to get out of no home grow. It's going to cost you home grow for patients, because the no home grow for any reasoning that they use for social use for adults will not apply to sick people trying to care for themselves. It will not apply. So if they're going to use whatever arguments they're going to say why no home grow, it's not going to make sense if they say no to patients still in that process. If we can phrase things correctly, if we can get the right optics towards people realizing, but what about patients? And see if we can get working on that. I'd be pretty sure the expected Governor Murphy would be okay with that as well.
And we have to be very patient, very good patients.
We have to be patient patients. This is true, we do. But at least, honestly, I think I am doing better as a patient, especially my right foot, ankle, everything. Both were damaged,
that injury when
severely.
You fell off that ladder.
Yeah, and it was wheelchair for 7 months and walker for half a year, and I was the guy people would look away from so they weren't staring, and there's always a certain amount of pain, but it's been a good 2 weeks since I became a patient. And I don't really know why, because I was an illegal patient breaking the law for years before that. But if I ever gained understanding into why this is so important, it was partially from watching Cheryl be helped, and through some late wife Cheryl. It was partly through that, but honestly, it was maybe everything's about me after all. When I was in the hospital and had uncontrollable pain in a hospital with all they had for pain. And the first pain control I got was when I combined cannabis with what they had on the way home from the hospital.
It hit your life nerve in your heel.
I'm sorry.
Where Achilles was holding him up, or Achilles he was invulnerable except for his heel.
Yeah.
And that's because there's a big nerve back there, and literally an arrow there will shock you and be able to kill you, just like an M16 bullet can hit you in the hand and kill you because of the nerve impulse shock if it hits a nerve center. So you are right. You were in great pain because you hit this nerve. You knew
I'm
it.
right.
You knew it, right? You knew you were going to be right. Okay.
Well, not neither here nor there, but
Oh, and a foot injury,
Yeah.
like a back injury, is something that you can't picture yourself in health because you're always like stumbling around,
Yeah.
or you're always moving slow because of your back, and they're really devastating problems. But it's not just the back; it's the foot.
yeah, but
It's very full of nerves and all these.
we're very tying it into cannabis still. How many people do you know? Well, Lefty, back.
Could you put a marijuana cigarette in between your toes and use that, to pick it up?
No, okay, come on, don't
Well,
deviate
well,
too far. I say
you're using it
I
for
can
your
reach your
pee,
mic button from here, man.
You're reading
I don't
it.
even have to give up my mic. I can reach over and hit yellow. Look, the fact is that experiencing extreme pain and then experiencing how a certain amount of opioids gets rid of the crushing pain, but it's still more than I'd ever had in my life, even with that, until I smoked cannabis with the opioids. The analgesic effect is so much intensified, so much better, that it's why the advisory panel for the medical marijuana program, the advisory panel, the really highly credentialed clinicians, doctors, anesthesiologists, mental health experts, there's a reason that they voted to include people that have opioid abuse disorder, which means are addicted. But the phrase in the petition to get put onto the program would be opiate abuse disorder. So here we are having what's described as a fantastic effort to deal with the opioid abuse problem and overuse, not including cannabis. How is that possible when it is so effective, and the state itself will probably be adding that condition to its medical marijuana program? It should be highlighted. It helps prevent addiction, which is the best thing. You need to deal with addiction once somebody's addicted, but where you can help prevent it, everything should be on the table, and it's not.
Yeah, but how about this one, though? My devious thinking mind says that Christie came back from his vacation with Mr. Trump, with President Trump, and he refinished the State House, so we couldn't stand in front of the State House anymore with a big display there. We have to come down here to the
Right.
annex. Okay.
Yeah.
And then number two, he started a big program about stopping the opioid addiction because he maybe
Right.
read our sign. Maybe he's trying to plot against us.
No, what he's doing, Governor Christie hates
Devious.
two things.
What?
Listen
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
He hates cannabis, and I truly believe he does hate addiction. But he hates cannabis more than he hates addiction to opioids. If he had a
That's
choice
weird.
to make sure that marijuana was not used in New Jersey and people remained addicted, I think that would be the choice he'd take. I found out, and I believe it's true, I haven't actually, it was for U.S. World News, so we don't know. I don't know if that's fake news or real news, but let me say what I'd heard from them is the makers of fentanyl, which is really addictive, and an opioid.
I don't know about it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's used in combination sometimes with other stuff, but it also gets mixed in with heroin because it feels very familiar. But people are dying from fentanyl overdoses at an alarmingly increasing rate. So the makers of fentanyl apparently donated substantial money to campaigns or to lobby against marijuana legalization. And marijuana legalization, the makers of fentanyl, if I have my information correct, have donated large amounts of money towards organizations that or individuals who want marijuana to remain illegal. Because the makers of fentanyl want marijuana to be illegal. And the only educated guess I could make would be because that would require less opioids, less fentanyl, maybe not any at all, because if you have opioids in conjunction with not such a strong opioid, oxycodone, you need so much less. How many stories have we heard in 3 years about the amount of pain pills somebody was doing, and then they added cannabis to their medical regimen? It's generally getting rid of, I think, 60%, like people generally say, well, using 40% or even 25% of the opioids that they were using. So, you know, hold on a second.
So
what do you got, y'all?
They're still doing it? They're
Right.
still doing the opioids?
Say again?
They're still doing the opioids, did you say? Even though they have the...
Yeah, no, we're not going to have a guest speaker right now. And I need to talk to you about something later on. I got a disturbing report, something about Dr. Medvedovsky's office having a problem. And we need to talk about that. The one thing people should never mess with is somebody's food, family, or job. And if anybody I know messes with somebody's food, family, or job when they have a problem with them, it's time to call it quits for that person. So, that's a whole different story.
Well, you know, evil proliferates more than good, and anything done with that perspective that you mentioned will carry on through a chain of people more easily than if you gave $20 to somebody. I mean, so you're right.
So Daniel, do you not have a medical marijuana card? You don't have one?
No.
Is it because of the money?
Oh no! I am right now. I'm pursuing that with through the VA. Unfortunately, it's the Philadelphia VA, but whatever, because it's not legal there.
Right.
So therefore, the current status is that if you're have PTSD and you're a VA patient and you're in a state where marijuana is legal, it's a gimme.
You may.
You may. You can go out and get it on the economy.
And you
so
can
to speak.
still keep your status at the VA.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because, you know, now that's pretty new. A good friend of mine, Mike Krowitz, was integral in putting himself out there and breaking the pain contract that you sign to get medicine at the VA, that if you have cannabis in your, you know, blah, 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 you lose your, you can't go there anymore. So that's a start, you know. But I don't know if they've gone far enough.
I remember when I was seeing a doc of my primary care physician, VA associated, and we weren't allowed to talk about marijuana. We weren't allowed to talk
With your doctor?
with my doctor.
Correct.
Because he's under
Now,
military orders. Right?
That was what, 3 years ago?
No, maybe
4.
2.
Yeah, 2. It was not
recent.
that. It was not that long ago.
And then as soon as we hit the button, as soon as we got the law, as soon as it was passed, I said, "Is that true?" And he went, "Yeah." Well, we went off on a big conversation. And then this is weird, Jim. You're going to like this part. I should mention that I see a psychiatrist, you know, but I've been seeing psychiatrists
Knock me
for
over with a feather.
30 years. Okay.
Good for you. No, seriously, good
what
for you.
she did before.
You don't really want me to guess, right?
Marijuana research.
Really?
Yes.
She
yes.
did.
It is the cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system, and we even had a dispute over the claim that the marijuana produces an increase in serotonin.
Now, this is the person you're seeing, but is it VA related, or is
Yeah, it's in
it
the
is?
VA,
So,
it's in the VA hospital.
so
yeah.
she works at the VA hospital, and
Because of my stress, my delayed stress, you know, like I overreact sometimes.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and isn't that luck of the
is,
draw too?
yeah. Well, that is, then you're in a decent spot there.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
and she can help me, and she knows.
Yeah.
So
you can become a patient in New Jersey.
She's young, Jim, and she's really pretty.
Okay.
She is, and she's young, and it's like so fresh. You know, you see that young skin. You know.
Okay,
what I mean?
no, right now, but Dan, you're inbounds right now. I would advise you to circle the conversation somewhere else. Okay, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Because I got nobody else to talk to now, and I'll have to turn you down if you go any further.
I respect her greatly. I do. No,
I know you do.
Look,
I know you, and I know that you don't mean certain things that other people could take wrongly. So I'm just helping you out when this means I want to reel you back in. We can have all the private signs we want,
I remember when I was young and had a sex drive.
Okay, there you go now. You will not get the next. It's not cannabis related. Dan, this is a medical cannabis podcast. So while you're talking about your VA, VA and how they may talk about this, you're spot on topic. But you got to remain that way. Anyway, because I'm hoping we're going live on Facebook soon. I don't know.
We ain't live yet?
No, we're live on YouTube, right? We're live. We're broadcasting live, and people can watch live on YouTube. But we did pretty good last week with Lefty hooking up his live Facebook through the system here.
I want him to run away.
We get more viewers.
I got a dash. I mean, there's a. I got to catch a bus.
You got to catch a bus? Okay. Well, listen, Dan, help me out, man. Help me out. I don't know where else I can go with you here.
I have to go pray I can get some medication.
All right.
I'll kneel on the grass over here and Okay, the fates are with us, Jim, and I'm sure that no matter how the election turns out, in spite of all of the bad press that 101.5 is throwing on Bill Murphy, he's like they got
101.5. What time of day?
All day.
All day.
I leave it on often when I don't listen to PRB, which is of course the primo background music you ever want. I was listening over to 101.5. And it's just repeating the ridiculous economic policies that Bill Murphy is bringing in, and all this stuff about he's in big money because he had a job at Goldman Sachs, and he was an ambassador to the to Germany, and I mean, they're bashing him on every point. It's like they have another Christie.
Well,
and Kim Giordano is on there too often. Oh, anyway.
Well, listen, 8 years ago, John Corzine was going to be reelected. 8 years ago today,
I got to go right away. Keep talking. I'll hear you before as I disappear into the yonder.
Please go do what you got to do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go. Run like the wind, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, I will. Go. Oh, don't take the mic with you. Headphones. That's good.
I'm sorry to do this, Jim.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry, but I got.
No, go. I'm not disappointed. What can I say? There is so much, though, to talk about, even by myself. The National Cancer Institute has very quietly stipulated in their publication, whatever it's called, that cancer research with mice has shown that cannabinoids can shrink tumors. Cannabinoids can shrink them to the point of disappearing. Cannabinoids can inhibit cancer cells from growing and often essentially kill them while not destroying any healthy cells. So I don't know what the American Cancer Institute is relative to the American Cancer Society, who has never been a friend to cannabis-related issues, but the American Cancer Institute says much research could be done that would most likely verify that. I wish I was more.
Oh my God.
Lefty seems to have a locking device for his car that can set off the alarm but not counteract it from the same distance it sets it off at. I'm not sure how that's a good thing. So anyway, the American Cancer Institute on board. One of the problems we still have is, now that I'm a patient, it concerns me more. Medical marijuana patients are told by the health department where they may and may not consume their medicine in a pretty understandable short form that, amazingly enough, many police do not have that information. While that is up to the Attorney General to do that, I'm thinking perhaps the medical marijuana program itself should send this information to every police station and ask for a reply. The program itself should recognize that the Attorney General's not doing the job that he should, and somewhere in my new patient information they said that he was. Actually said the Attorney General, it's his job. And I read that 3 weeks ago when I got the information, accepted into the program. And I'm not seeing it right now, I will. When somebody says, how's the program working? It's really hard to qualify. It's better than it was, but it was so bad before that it's not good. It's just better. And I've read there's 14,000 some patients now, the latest number to come up. We still don't know if that includes deceased patients. Can't find that out. So if it's 14,600 patients, it would probably be as many as 2,500 or more patients on that roll, on that list, probably are no longer with us. Which doesn't seem like that's a real accurate number to be giving out. I mean, including the people who have died? Yeah, let's just keep them on the rolls. Much like voter registration. You read how many people are registered to vote in a state. There's quite a large amount who have died, and it's not voting irregularities behind it. It's just that people don't have deceased family members taken off the voting ranks, and they don't tell the program probably.
I have an expose I have to do. I got something in the mail last week. I got a mail-in ballot. A mail-in ballot. I got a mail-in ballot for Betty Grimes, who has never existed in this house, ever.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how'd that happen?
Somebody's using my address, my name, to get these ballots. This is what they do in Jersey City.
There's no Betty Grimes?
There's never been a Betty Grimes at my house, yet she's allowed to vote and mail it in.
You don't have an Aunt Pippi that her real name is
Nope.
Betty?
Nope.
Wow.
Yep. Pisses me off.
You got to do something about that.
I'm going to go expose this. I want to know who the hell Betty Grimes is.
Well, who do you expose it to? Voting?
The voting office in Jersey City, I guess I have to go to. I'm a little pissed off. Someone's using my last name to get votes for someone. Really?
Yeah, you got to put it in their hands.
I don't like that.
No.
No. And that's what goes on. I'm sure it happens all over the place.
Well, yeah, it's not the only instance. You can be sure of that.
But what are they doing? Going through my mail and picking out my mail? Is that what they're doing? Really?
Death notices, nothing like that, because nobody in your
Betty
that
Grimes,
address.
she doesn't exist, Jim. They took my name and they said, "Oh, Grimes lives here. Let's make instead of Eddie Grimes, we'll make Betty Grimes." And we'll, that's
Said
just,
Eddie Betty.
I'm just I'm shocked that this is going on. So yeah, this is a new video I have to make about this. Betty Grimes. Find out who Betty Grimes
Well,
is.
don't let it video make and take you against other stuff, you know.
I know, I'm so busy.
Just go like shake your finger in somebody's face there and say you want them to get to the bottom of it, and should you go any further than this?
Yeah.
Should I contact the newspapers? No, we'll take care of it.
You're right. We'll take care of it. They'll mail it in.
Well, apparently that can happen.
But it's a mail-in. It's not just a, sample ballot. It's something you just sign it and mail it, and you're done. There you go. There's a vote. You do that 1,000 times. There's your local election.
If somebody did that, wouldn't they have had a plan to get that ballot instead of you?
I know. I guess I got it before them.
Maybe they didn't expect it, or they check. Could they get your mail? Is your mail in an unlocked box when it's delivered?
Yes. And I don't live there. It's my house that I own, but I don't live there. So they must know that I don't live there. Yeah, they're sneaky.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Ken Wolski. How are you, sir? Hello, Amy.
Hello, Ken and Amy.
Hello, Grizz. Grizzy, what's going on, buddy? I'm slacking on that thing, man. I'm slacking on the comic book thing. I'm working on it. I'm still working on it.
Lefty was saying he had a mail-in ballot mailed to his mail address where he doesn't actually live, owns a property. It's family property. For Betty Grimes, not for Ed Grimes.
Yeah.
For somebody that doesn't exist. There is no Betty Grimes in the family. Grimes mail gets delivered there. Somebody's setting up a fake vote and using Lefty, and I'll bet they're Republicans.
It's a mail-in, Ken. All I got to do is sign it and mail it in, and it counts. Like, really? How does this happen?
Beats me. I don't have an answer for that. I did get a absentee ballot mailed to my house, inviting me to use an absentee ballot rather than go to the voting booth on November 7th.
You must be so popular at the voting booth.
Why would they do that?
Well, that's a good question. I assume that they send them to all the registered voters
in
Mercer County.
Is it crowded when you vote?
No, it's never crowded. I never have to wait more than
that's
2
all
minutes.
I got.
2 minutes to vote. There is no there's no line at all where I go in West Trenton.
No.
So
you didn't expect to receive?
No, I didn't expect it. I thought you had to request it, basically.
Okay.
You had to request an absentee ballot, is what they call it, a mail-in
There
ballot.
could be something to that. Maybe they're fishing for people who know. This is going on all over the state. This isn't just me that I'm getting Betty Grimes's absentee ballot.
And Betty
Grimes.
Eddie.
They know my name.
Betty.
Oh, wait, Eddie?
Betty.
Oh,
Betty.
Betty.
Right.
B-E-T-T, Betty.
But I'm wondering if they know, it was an Edward Grimes, Eddie. Oh, Betty. That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's really,
Eddie Betty.
It's very shady. And when they call you to tell you that, why would they do that? It's interesting.
Well, right. They didn't call, but they sent me an absentee ballot.
Well, less work for them.
I thought it was just a courtesy. I kept it in case I ever wanted to use it. But, I plan to be here on Election Day.
Government's being courteous.
I give, sometimes it's easier during a conversation we've taken to doing, a Cheryl story. I always give a quick one at the end before, but this would qualify as she never wanted an absentee ballot. She wanted to get out of the house in the wheelchair and go vote. Wheelchair, voting booth. Okay, so she's leaned back, and the way it works is I'd back her in. I'd already know what she wanted, and we'd go over it beforehand. So basically, I'd back her in, and I'd push the button. She couldn't move. And then the lower part of her body was sticking out there with her feet up a little bit. And people would not be watching. And it gets so quiet. Yeah, you'd walk in, you'd come down the hall, you hear people buzzing and talking, and you walk in, quiet. Now, the people that work there would already be smiling, trying not to laugh, because they know it's coming. During that silence, I go, "You'll vote for whoever I vote for."
What was that?
I said, "You'll vote for whoever buttons I push." I'd say something different each time. "You'll vote for whoever I say you vote for." And then it would be quiet. And I'd come out, and these people, they'd be horrified. And then the minute I'd come out, the staff would start laughing and clapping, and I'd point at them, and they'd point back, Yeah, it was fun. I couldn't help it.
I'm going to do that this year, Jim.
That is not to, and only a quick one. Sometimes it goes bad. I've always felt bad about the one time I put Cheryl's wheelchair in the trunk. Popped the trunk, but there was no room. There's a car next to her, so I could open the door and then carry her in, and then I'd put the wheelchair in the trunk. But before doing that, she'd be stiff. I'd have to bend her body down, and it would take minutes. Her back would be stiff, you know. So I'd bend her down till she was basically bent over onto her knees, and I'd be stretching her back. But now I'm not next to the door of the car. I'm behind the car. The trunk's open. There's two people walking by. They look up. I go, how do you expect me to fit her in the trunk if I don't fold her properly? And they look horrified. And I couldn't. I sat there stunned at how horrified they were. And I never said, I'm an ass. I'm sorry. It makes Cheryl laugh. And you could hear Cheryl going, because she couldn't get a full lungful because she's bent over. You know?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Now, part of that's me, and part of it I always blamed on, come on, man. It makes Cheryl take part and laugh. She liked it. That's why I do it.
Fun with the handicap.
Yeah. Well, she always did, you know.
So are voting booths handicap accessible in general, or
Yeah.
is there a problem?
Very easy.
Yeah.
No. This one was. It's a firehouse, and it's walk right in.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, I wouldn't tell you. You got plenty of places to get ramps. By the way, you know, 5 successes. Good for you. I hope it's more by next week.
The hard way, too.
5 ramps?
Yeah. The assault charge, I dropped the charge. He's going to put a ramp in within 30 days. If he doesn't put a ramp in, the judge says to me, if he doesn't put a ramp in, what are you going to do, Mr. Grimes? Punch him in the nose? I said, no, Your Honor.
The judge said that?
Yeah. I said, no, Your Honor. We just want ramps. We were up and down Broadway looking for ramps. And the judge says, oh, you're the guy. He called me a do-gooder.
In a good way.
In a good way. He's like, you're a do-gooder, Mr. Grimes.
I don't know. Whenever anybody gets sarcastic with me, like, Mr. Miller, you're going to punch him in the nose, and I'd go, You know, like one time I was, and the reason I remember I was coming by here because it was an anti-abortion thing. No, it was against gay marriage, same-sex marriage. And it was like, what's next? Marriage between a person and a dog. And it was like a big sign somebody was holding. I walked right up and I went, went walking away was not the reaction, you know. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Well,
so
where does this stand with the Linden court appearance?
I go to court next Wednesday. On Wednesday for that, yeah.
Next Wednesday?
Yes.
And it's going to be a one-day appearance, you think?
This is my 4th appearance, 5th appearance.
it's not for trial though. It's for.
I don't know. I'd like to go to trial. I want to put Birch on the stand, get this over with, but they keep switching prosecutors on me.
So if you go and the Lefty's asked me to be a witness because I witnessed a lot of it, and I don't know how much I could help, but you know, if I need to be there, you better make sure to remind me. You know how I forget.
So
evening I can make it though.
So it's one day after Weedman's trial starts.
yes,
Starts next Tuesday.
I'm gonna film that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna film that.
You're allowed to go in there and film.
We're gonna,
trial?
yeah, you have to go ahead of time and
Yeah.
set that up. And the judge
have-
signed off on it last time. He let
You
me
have
film.
permission to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
last time they did.
Good. Yeah. You know, court cases are seminal events in American history. They really have you know, are very important things to witness. They can be things that just change the way we behave here in America. So it's I think this is a very important court case with Weedman anyway. Of course, he's being held without bail and for over 6 months now, and
Why isn't that against the state constitution?
yeah, you would think so.
You would think so, but they did what the health department's done. They find ways to set the clock back.
Right.
Oh, a change of lawyers? Well, it sets you back to day 1.
Right.
Never mind the is it day 40? He lost 40 days.
Apparently, even motions that weren't started by him were considered not part of the.
Well, yeah,
ticking
how else
clock
can you
of,
guarantee a postponement unless you know you can be the one making the
you know,
the new stuff?
No,
That's
it certainly seems to be
it's
punishment for
well, it
filing
is.
motions.
It is.
The whole thing really reeks. I mean, from the fact that the police went in and targeted him for prosecution and persecution, really,
No.
and sent in these undercover agents or agent for on more than one occasion, specifically targeting him. You know, and then to keep him arrested for talking about his the confidential informant before the judge's order even went into effect that he should not do so. You know, it just seems, the whole thing reeks of terrible injustice. So I certainly hope he is successful when he does finally get his day in court coming up Tuesday. I guess there'll be a jury selection.
It just seems too easy to manage. I have concerns. You know, they're going for 20 years, I think.
They're going for 20 years?
That's what I...
yes.
Well, now the 20 years, that's just for the witness intimidation or
I don't know, do you know?
That's not even the charge, the original charge that he was facing. Isn't that correct?
Which, the cyberbully charge?
But, well, the drug dealing. I mean, that's what they
charge.
got. They got it for drug dealing, right? I mean, some type of
confidential
sale of
informant.
sale of marijuana to a confidential informant. And the other charge is the witness intimidation.
Right.
You know, so I mean, that's why he's in jail right now, because of the witness intimidation. So that I heard is 20 years before he gets to the main charge. So you know, they're really just trying to shut him up completely and just put him away so nobody can hear from him again. And it's such a shame for such an outspoken advocate for marijuana reform. You know, someone who started a business in the inner city, a minority-owned business that was thriving, that was creating a little culture that was peaceful, peaceful and organized for some political aims.
Didn't that start to go downhill when he started having weekend events and late night, all night?
Well, it went downhill in the eyes of the police. He maintains that he had a religious right to do that because part of what he opened was a temple.
Yeah, but he did when he opened that declare that's what he was going to do. I think.
Right.
It wasn't a surprise.
Right.
But what they were saying is, according to zoning, there he wasn't allowed to be open past 10, selling wings and things, and he was. And then they went after him on that. He kept getting lots of violations, but that was just violations.
But he read the zoning rules to them, and he showed them that he was in an area that was in the same place that other restaurants were allowed to stay open past 11. You have diners that are open in Trenton and McDonald's that are open. And
I've been in the temple. Have you?
I've been in the temple, yes.
I think I saw you there one time. Wasn't it kind of nice, though, to be able to look out through the mirrored windows and see City Hall right across the street? I always found that heartwarming that it was right there and everybody knew he was there. And
it was clearly,
they coexisted fine for a while.
They did coexist. And he was popular with state workers who would come over from the Department of Environmental Protection, which was just catty corner to his store.
How many
other state workers, another,
how many businesses there had a joint resolution commending him for commending them for? He got a joint resolution
from the New Jersey legislature.
Yeah,
right.
A joint resolution, though.
That's right.
Come on.
From the Assembly, right?
Joint
Assembly and
Senate.
Yeah.
Senate. So.
I thought it was a joint resolution. Oh, you mean joint meaning joint?
Yeah.
Right, the two bodies of the...
All this time I'm thinking it was for...
Yeah, really, right. And I have a picture of it's just like the joint something room in Washington, just because they have one.
Hold on, what are you looking at there, Amy? Show us what you're looking at. What is that?
There's a rally going on.
Right now?
Phil Murphy.
Oh, Phil Murphy.
Joe Biden. Middlesex County.
What?
Yeah.
Where in Middlesex County?
I don't know.
Well, we of the coalition remain off to the side of these things, so.
I'd love to have Phil Murphy on the show. He's for cannabis legalization, unlike Ken Guacamole, who...
And while we cannot endorse a candidate...
he's been consistently supporting legalization of cannabis for all the right reasons, too. The social justice reasons he emphasized in the debate. And then I also watched him on Steve Abadado's show last night on New Jersey
I didn't know he was
Network.
on last night. I would have watched that.
Yeah, it was a taped show from September, but he's been consistent, remarkably consistent in his support for marijuana legalization and why he wants to support marijuana legalization. And when Ed Honeyb and I saw him at the College of New Jersey during one of his early town halls, one of the kids from the college asked him some questions about legalization of marijuana, and he said the exact same thing. He's just been consistently supportive of it because of the racial disparity and how damaging in arrests for marijuana and how damaging that is to the inner city, and how we need to really restore social justice in America, and starting with marijuana legalization here in New Jersey.
Did that come up, marijuana legalization, on the, I know it came in the debate on the Steve Adubato interview? Did Steve talk about that?
Well, yes. Steve Adubato wasn't a debate. He interviewed.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. Did Phil,
Yes.
was that discussed in a
Yes.
discussion like that? Good.
Yes, and it was one of the top topics, one of the first topics that he discussed, too. So, it talked about the importance of it in the campaign, I think. And he also interviewed Kim Guadagno, and she talked about her plan to decriminalize marijuana, but she said she was adamantly opposed to legalization of marijuana.
Yeah, well, why she's never spoken of that as lieutenant governor.
About decriminalization? No, we've
not
never
till
heard.
it became a way to say no to legalization. However,
It's like,
you can't just
support
say
it.
no
Why don't you,
legalization. However, she had no other however except that. It's been very popular for a lot of people to say no to legalization. However, I don't know if people should be going to jail. Decriminalization. We should do that first.
Right.
See how that goes in another 40, 50 years.
No, you've been in office now as lieutenant governor for 8 years. Why aren't you, pushing a platform of decriminalization? Why don't we have decriminalization here in New Jersey now if you support it, Kim?
Yeah, it's a little late.
Yeah.
She's a little late for that.
She's the equivalent of tying a ribbon around a tree supporting veterans, when really veterans, if they don't know that ribbon's there, it's a ribbon. It's nice, but you could mail them some cookies or something. That would be better than a ribbon. Anything. So when somebody says, I support medical marijuana, all the years we've been doing this, I'd say, how does that manifest itself? Just curious,
Right.
Letters to your legislators, we got extra signs come out on a Thursday.
And it's like Kevin Sabat, from the SAM, vehemently opposing marijuana legalization and coming out and saying, but we shouldn't be arresting marijuana users. Well, why aren't you advocating for that, Kevin? Why aren't you going around saying stop it?
I know how we could
these
stop
arrests.
the arrests.
24,000 arrests in the state of New Jersey. Last year, over 24,000 arrests. Over 90% of them were just for marijuana possession.
Was that Kevin Sabat's way of saying he supports decriminalization?
Yeah, it sounded like it, yes.
De facto support?
I'm not sure what decriminalization means to them.
I'm not sure what de facto means. I'm pretty sure that was right, though.
But Amy Roth is here, and Amy just picked up 10 pounds of wristbands.
Poundage.
10 pounds
man.
of.
That's it, man.
This is not a code word.
I don't believe one person can use that many hemp bracelets. I think those hemp bracelets are meant for other people. Hemp bracelets.
So thank you so much, Amy, for
sure.
attempting to turn this into some type of money for CMMNJ. And Amy just bought 2 T-shirts too. So thank you,
Nice.
thank you
You're
so much
very
for your
welcome.
contributions.
I'm glad
Amy.
I can try to help support.
They are very nice T-shirts, and it's the original design after all these years.
Right,
We got it right the first time.
right.
And I had nothing to do with that, so I'm not patting myself on the back,
Well, that was Jim in Kalingo. He was the one person we hired when we got a grant from the Marijuana Policy Project, a $40,000 grant. So we hired this very talented guy for a year, and he came up with our logo. He designed our logo, and he
Then we
designed,
went on vacation.
He designed our. He originally designed our website.
He did a great job.
What's that? Yeah.
Because no one deserves to suffer needlessly.
Right.
That's nobody argues with that. I think that's a great way to put it. Even I can't think of somebody that deserves to suffer needlessly. I can think of some people I wouldn't mind suffering on purpose. Give them a little nudge into a bed of hot coals. No, I can't do that.
No. So Phil Murphy's giving a talk somewhere right here in the Garden State in Middlesex County, maybe near Rutgers University.
I'd like to hope that every time he does this between now and the election, that legalization of cannabis is part of what he talks about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, not for nothing, and it doesn't hurt, and I go fishing all the time, sending stuff out, but I have to get a hold of his campaign staff and say, is there any way we could convince you that it might be good to call it for social use of adults as opposed to recreational? Because recreational just sounds like you want to have a softball game or something. I mean, it's social use, it's social. People don't recreationally drink. I don't recreationally drink. I mean, actually, I do more than I recreationally smoke. But people face each other when they're smoking. Often, people when they drink, they're lined up at a, and they don't share. Try taking a sip of somebody's beer, and yet they'll pass you a joint. So you tell me which is social, right? No, I'm sorry. I thought you were a social drinker. I was just sharing it with you. See how that flies.
Yeah, it always was something that marijuana was something that you shared. It was a way of communicating. It was communing with people of like-minded attitudes back in the '60s, anyway.
And that was what I really liked about the temple. Yes, there was cannabis use in Weedman's temple.
Right, and of course,
but it was so communal. It was really
of the religious use of it, really. I mean, people do share it the way communion is shared in the Christian religion.
So it's not a big deal. I know recreational because it's always been recreational, but I look at the booze industry. Oh wait, they don't call it booze; they call it spirits. We call it weed. We got weed against spirits, we learn a thing or two from the alcohol industry.
Well, and the gaming industry, they don't
As
call
well.
it gambling.
No.
They call it gaming.
It's
just
game
a
of
game,
chance.
right?
It's a game of
it's
chance.
a game, right?
Life is a chance. It's a
just
game of chance.
The people who
but we don't
bet over their heads and lose their money and want to commit suicide because of all the money they lost at the gambling tables. Well,
I don't think people understand what I mean when I say I advocate for cannabis and I smoke pot.
That's funny because I always called it pot, and these other words don't roll off my tongue.
Yeah. Weed, if you even, it's not like obviously the definition of a weed is an unwanted plant. I mean, it's pretty much the definition.
Right.
I've looked it up to see why, and but it's also in the mainstream press as weed, legalized weed, and or pot. And maybe it's because it's 4 letters or 3 letters. It headlines easier,
Well, no, I mean, we used to call it dope.
Right.
I think that was part of the
I don't
the
believe
cachet,
I
the glamour of it. It was like, oh yeah, well, let's go smoke some dope.
I don't believe I ever called it dope.
Scare the elders, reinforce their fears of us. That we are fearless. We smoke dope. Yes.
Dope. One of my, I thought, more effective and fun letters to the editor took only a second, but there used to be a commercial that would say something about marijuana makes you take 10 seconds to answer to "Hey, stupid," And my letter to the editor is, well, if it takes cannabis use or whatever 10 seconds to answer to "Hey, stupid," it's probably because they spent the first 9 looking for who thought they were stupid, who you were talking about. Who wants to be first and quickest to answer to "Hey, stupid." And I wrote it out very eloquently, and it was in like 2 days. It was one of the quickest ones in, and it took about 5 minutes to write. Well, it's fact.
Yeah, so many of those anti-drug slogans really become so laughable after, on further reflection.
Your brain on drugs is like an egg, getting smashed.
Right.
I always feel like having eggs when I see that. Don't like, wow, we got any eggs? They look pretty good.
I mean, people watch this woman smashing everything in her kitchen and they say, I'll have what she's having.
Oh my. It's just, And I remember my opinion of marijuana before I'd ever tried it, but of course that was 1969, and then nobody offered it to me in high school. I was ready to say sure, but it was still kind of, even within your friends, a little more hidden because everybody's just sort of picking it up at about the same time. And when I found out what high was, it was so unlike what I expected and so controllable, where I know when I drink too much, it's not controllable.
Right.
And this, it was always controllable, if not, I mean, it didn't lay me out. And I felt like I'd been lied to, everything I'd ever heard, as soon as I found out. And I always say that telling the truth would be so much better, and letting go of that road, the cannabis, it's all like as bad as all the others, because you don't have to try it for the first time, but you see somebody you know try it, and you've seen him drunk, and now you see little Billy smoking pot, and he's just pleasant as could be. You see it's not, and then, well, maybe they're lying about cocaine and heroin too.
Right.
Oh, now you make a wrong assumption where a lot of what they're saying about that is scary and should be scary, but they're not scared because of the lies about cannabis. So you can't have your credibility when you lie about something provable.
Well, I did my own research in high school. I remember writing a term paper in history class about
research
actual
research?
Research.
I did research too.
I did a term paper where I looked at the relative dangers of marijuana versus heroin and cocaine.
Did you learn, I mean, when you looked into it, did you learn things that surprised you while you were doing that? I mean, as you, did you already know it all? I mean,
no, I certainly didn't know it all, and that's why I did some of the research, and the research just showed me that marijuana was a relatively safe drug. That
Lester Grinspoon used to tell the same sort of story, that when he was looking it up for whatever reason, and he said every time I'd peel back one layer, there were 2 layers below, and by the time I got to the bottom, he was amazed how far from what it was, and it sounds kind of like what you were doing.
Exactly, and to me, marijuana was something that I definitely wanted to try, and as a teenager, and heroin was something I definitely did not want to try, because of...
We had hard and soft drugs. When we had hard and soft drugs, of course, would be marijuana, hashish, mushrooms, perhaps. Some people, well, if you eat a lot, then they're more like acid and kind of hard. But that it was hard and soft drugs that, I mean, even in the Steppenwolf, the pusher is a monster, but for a nickel, the dealer going to sell you a lot of sweet dreams. I mean, it was in song, it was in what people knew, and it was enough to not. I've never tried heroin, and I figure I tried just everything.
Right.
And I didn't because I was able to separate, maybe that was a hard drug truth, and the soft drugs people lied about.
Right, but if I relied on government propaganda, they would have they were constantly and always demonizing marijuana, making it, and they still classify it in the same class as heroin and just as dangerous as heroin. So I mean, it would have been very misleading to me, and as it is to so many young people in America, that unless you do your own research, or get your information from the street. The street actually had more credible information than was available from the federal government.
Amazing.
So, how about you, Amy? Did you have early experiences with
1972. My friends, I was the youngest child, and so were my friends, so we had older siblings who used to give us them, and we liked it a lot. A lot.
Right.
But you were ahead of your time, doing the research at that time.
Yeah.
You always knew that it was a good medicine.
Yeah, so I smoked my first joint in 1966 when I was a senior at Trenton High School with this young man over here.
I was 12.
That's weird.
You were 12?
When I first tried.
I'm 19.
19.
Yeah. Somebody offered.
Yeah.
And I didn't offer anybody. I do remember I was so happy to have this available compared to drinking, because I found out from others, oh no, you can actually do this and you don't have to go to sleep for it to disappear. I mean, you can, I'm like, no way. I mean, that sounds like something I'd like. It was the experience of smoking it and then deciding, I'm going to learn to roll joints. And I bought several packs of papers, double wides, And I went into my room and I rolled up a whole ounce of joints, and then 2 in my first time through made the grade 2. So I opened up all the others and then went through them again. And I'd have a few more until I had an entire ounce. But meanwhile, I had one hanging on my mouth the whole time like a mad scientist, apparently, you know. Don't bother Jim. He's not leaving that desk. But now I know how to roll joints.
I actually didn't experience the psychotropic effects of it first couple of times that I smoked. So, I mean, I was pleased and I felt very sophisticated to be having it there and to using it, but I didn't really get the marijuana euphoria, I guess, that until I was like, I think 19 or so, until I was a freshman in college.
Until you got up to the 1.5% THC. Well, what we were smoking was pretty not high in THC content.
Right. And it was low THC back then. Yeah. But I mean, the first couple of times, but then after a while, you know, good pot drives out bad pot. So, you know, the Trenton area was an area where that was fertile for excellent marijuana.
I can remember. He's got it wrong.
So,
Hello. What?
I can remember when they lowered when they said if you have I think it was an ounce of marijuana or less, it's a traffic ticket.
Well,
and that was back in the.
When was that?
It must have been in the early 70s.
But not here in New Jersey, Dan. It never became decriminalized to that extent. What they did do was they changed it from a criminal offense with a year in jail and $2,000 fine to a misdemeanor or a disorderly persons offense with a 6 months in jail or a $1,000 fine, to which it remains today.
I was really impressed with that because right at that time, I too began to notice that the grass you would get around would be less in quantity, but particularly stronger. It was like it went, for me.
Right.
My point of view was they went right in hand. Like soon as they said the penalty is going to be lower, then they started making the grass stronger so the grass could
it was
proliferate.
At 25 grams, I remember, in 74, give or take, that was what you didn't want to have more than 25 grams, because that was
an ounce.
And I wasn't aware actually what the penalty was, but I knew for a half a joint or for 24 grams, it's going to be the same penalty.
Right.
But I do remember bargaining with police with a friend of mine. It's the weirdest bargaining, where we got caught. We'd go out and smoke it. We'd go to Point Pleasant and hear good music and smoke on our own break. And we tried to convince him, and we did successfully, that we'd already smoked 6 big fat joints out of it, and nobody sells you more than an ounce when you buy an ounce. So it's well under 25 grams. You know, they were looking at it, and we're saying, no, we've already had 6 today.
Right.
You know, I mean, since we got it. And they didn't. We just repeatedly got small amounts taken away then. One summer, had cannabis confiscated 5 times. And
really?
Yeah, small amounts.
Yeah.
You know, a bowl, a little bit, and not once was it, you know, because I was yes or no, sir, not being anybody's face, and it just wasn't worth the paperwork. So maybe they were going after the.
Drinking and driving was the main extracurricular activity that I participated in when I was in high school, and the cops would often stop us and confiscate the beer.
Yeah.
You know, so we would just, they had our beer confiscated. We got to go get some more.
Got a ride home one time.
Yeah.
To come back and pick up your car in the morning, give you keys, I'll lock it up. I got a ride home. You know, I'd sleep in my van, which was geared for sleeping in, when I'd leave a bar in Point Pleasant, and I'd have a 7 o'clock wake-up call. I mean, time to get up, okay. You know, there's people they know, and they would prefer that I do that to drive. But you're right. The times I dozed off in the back of a policeman's car one time while he was checking things out for registration and all. It was cold out, and my car didn't have good heat. It's just quiet, and my head actually went down on my chest, which woke me up, and he didn't see it. But they weren't looking for it. Now it's gone the other way. I do not drive if I've had a third beer.
Oh yeah, no.
And
no.
when Kathy and I go out, whoever
Yeah,
drinks
and
first,
we had no
the other
no
one
idea
doesn't.
how dangerous it was to be drinking and driving, especially teenagers. 17 just got your license, or even 16 before you had your license.
That's kind of like what people say about children in cannabis now. They think it can't be so bad. Everybody's doing it. But it's not so bad. With the other, you're right. That was, I didn't think twice about it. And the penalties were not severe. It's just not. They weren't.
But
There weren't even any seatbelts in those days either.
That's true. That's true. But nowadays, the kids, because I have two girls, they have a designated driver.
Yeah.
They're designated
Yep,
drivers. Yeah, kids are smarter now, and the
of-
penalties are more severe too. So
Right.
so and there's more enforcement of this.
That's what's getting me. It's not my common sense that keeps me from driving after 2 beers. It's the penalties.
It's a penalty.
It is.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
penalties.
Well,
I
it's the
mean,
penalties
I'm
and the
walking around
awareness,
thinking I
too.
know I could drive, but I'm going to be at a red light. Somebody's going to run into the back of me,
Right,
and
right,
I'm
right.
going to get tested. I'm going to
Right.
get breathalyzed for being stopped at a red light. That's what
Right.
scares me.
Right.
You know,
right.
and then
yeah, the
I
other
can't
guy
afford
Oh,
it.
yeah.
doing
I
something
can't afford
stupid.
not to drive. So yeah, they got me righteously scared on that one. You know.
Right. So, and rightfully so. I mean, drinking and driving
Exactly,
is a
yeah.
dangerous thing, and so it should be discouraged in our population. And awareness of the dangers of it. I mean, I remember the newspaper headlines when I was a kid growing up. Well, the 4th of July weekends. How many fatalities on the road do we expect this 4th of July weekend? It was just a body count.
Yeah.
Just expected.
People were like dying all over the roads.
Yeah.
Partly because of so many people were drinking and driving, and also because of the unsafe vehicles with no seat belts. And as Ralph Nader said, the cars were unsafe at any speed.
And not even on New Year's Eve. That's
Right,
a
New
tough
Year's
night.
Eve,
We
right.
don't even like to always go out because we worry about, well, when can we drive? When would be the safest time to drive home? Well, that'd be about 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But
Or not at all after that,
Yeah,
really. I
right.
mean,
right, correct.
you know.
I was almost failing out of high school, especially as a senior. I was cutting and and drinking heavily when I was in high school. But when I got to college and I used marijuana more, I really settled down as a student. I think it really helped me to maintain a Dean's List average every semester in college that I was ever in. So
Yep, it helped you focus.
it helped me focus, right, and it stopped stopped all the problems that are associated with alcohol intake too. The hangover, the depression, because alcohol is a depressant. And, people think it's a stimulant, but it's not. It's a
Right.
depressant.
Right.
And the irrational behavior that's associated with alcohol ingestion too is a problem.
Yeah, I've subjected myself to that irrational behavior through alcohol consumption, and when you're 16, it can be pretty embarrassing too. The next day, everybody laughing out, and you don't really know what you did. And I did not know that consuming a half and half vodka and 7-Up or something, 16 ounces, like 8 ounces. But I didn't like the way it tasted, so I just hold my breath and drink the entire thing all at once. And then when my friend couldn't drink his, I drank his as well. And momentarily, I wasn't high at all. And then the wheels fell off spectacularly, I was convinced that whenever I'd fall down, it was the earth came up and rammed into my ass. But if I try real hard, I can actually push the entire world away with my feet. That was like serious, That was bad. I know girls would go out with me for like half a year after that. I was damaged goods.
So, Ken, do you remember I was telling you about I'm helping someone who was diagnosed with BRCA figure out in Connecticut. So what I've been getting, getting all the information, and we're trying to work out a regime for her.
Okay.
And in Connecticut, you are permitted 3.5 ounces per month, and it is by the month, January, February, March. Unlike here, it's the 30-day period. And they sell flour, vape oil, wax, edibles, you name it.
That's good.
And I'm not 100% sure, because I put this question out to her. I got the impression that they are willing to make things up special for her, because we've been going over the Rick Simpson oil and, you know, just trying to get an idea. Her pharmacist, who works at the dispensary, seems to feel he needs 7 ounces to make a batch for her for a 60-day period, up to 600 milligrams. So we're
7 ounces for a 60-day period of 600 milligrams. 7 ounces for 60 days.
Yeah, it's. I would think it'd really be dependent on what kind of ounce. I mean, this
Right,
is what brand, what strain, and
oh yes,
and how strong it may or may not be. But I don't know exactly what's used. If it's like, well, you only use this type and that type, and it
Yes.
does. It sounds
Yeah.
within bounds somewhat. I know. No,
7
that's
ounces
for
seems
that's
like
for 60 days. You know.
Seems like kind of a lot for 60 days. 7
Well,
ounces,
how much would an ounce be worth in this equation, money-wise? Like a $300 ounce?
more like 4.
Okay.
It's similar to us.
Yeah.
Still
Or like closer to
very
4.
expensive.
And that would take.
Well, yeah, that's a
how many-
whole. That's a whole other issue.
Yeah. So, but if it's that, and you need 7 ounces, you know, okay, that's $2,800. And what was the price that you were saying? I mean, how much would it? Did it say what it would cost?
Approximately. Well, I didn't do the math.
Okay, so
approximately
they just say 7 ounces.
$400.
Yeah.
You know, an
So-
ounce. Yeah, $2,800.
So then, is there other costs associated with it beyond the cost of that material? You know, it
Well, if they're going to make it for her,
yeah.
then I think that's a
I
big
heard
deal.
from somebody that was having somebody make it, and it was mailed to them, and the bottom end was $1,500, and the top end was probably towards $2,800. I mean, and the price fluctuated depending upon, maybe, I don't know if it was what was available or what, or how long the recommended time period would be, depending on what it was you were using it for.
Right.
This would have been for a 90-day supply, though. So,
right. Oh,
you know.
hang on.
But so the pharmacist was going to make it in his pharmacy?
Well, he works at the dispensary.
Right.
I'd like to
Connecticut has a pharmacist in each dispensary? Right. Okay.
But I
know Pennsylvania had originally toyed with having a registered nurse in each one of their dispensaries, but that got shot down. So I'm not sure if they have any kind of healthcare professional in any of the dispensaries that are opening in Pennsylvania. Certainly we don't have any in New Jersey, although it is a program run by the New Jersey Department of Health.
Yeah, but we don't have a healthcare professional in charge of the Department of Health, so how does that work out?
That's true, too.
Soon, maybe. I would like to hope
that may change with the new administration coming in.
So,
I would like to see. Why can't we have an elected position for the commissioner of the Department of Health? Say a 6-year or 8-year elected position.
Yeah, it shouldn't be dependent on one administration to the next.
Right. I mean, you get people with delusions of what these drugs will do, and it can really hurt public health, which is what the Department of Health is about. So.
Well, it certainly should be some. I understand you need to know something about administration to function as the head of a department like that. But I don't think it should come at the expense of clinical experience.
Right.
There certainly should be people who qualify both ways.
I'm sorry, Amy, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was rereading my notes, and it said 7 ounces a month, and I think that's excessive.
7 ounces a
we
month,
used to,
yeah,
we
no.
would recommend the 2 ounces that people got in New Jersey.
Yeah.
You know, from the dispensary each month. A high CBD.
Well, I suppose some people could use, you know, a significantly more than 2 ounces a month. I mean, that's kind of our baseline figure that we always thought was a minimum, would only meet the needs of maybe 60% of the people, of the patients who use it. So 7 ounces seems like an awful lot, but then it depends on the individual.
And
it
if
depends
it's
on
edibles,
the individual, why they're using it, and
I use a lot more. I would estimate that if I was making butter for Cheryl at the amount that worked, it would be somewhere around an ounce a week.
Yes.
And that seemed like a lot to me.
Yes.
But that was the upper end, what I would need, where everything was unbelievably good. And that was almost never so, you know. That was the rude part of that, is we knew it worked, and I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I think an ounce to 2 cups of coconut oil is a good recipe.
An ounce a week for in coconut oil. Do you use a magical butter machine?
Sure.
Yeah.
And if somebody was able to grow their own, you could certainly go a lot further.
Right.
Even if it were more than 2 ounces, who's spending that kind of money?
I can't afford
spending
it,
that kind of money these days.
Oh yeah, it's cost prohibitive.
It's not even, you know, worth getting the ability to have more.
Right.
What they might have to do here, though, they'll have to get permission. Apparently, from the state, they will grant, because they only get 3.5 per month. So if they want the 7, they just have to write a letter.
In Connecticut.
Yes, for maybe the, you know, the time frame, 3 months.
That's recommended by her doctor. She.
By the pharmacist and the doctor both. Yes, because the pharmacist knows the quantity that's needed, and the doctor agrees with the recommendation.
Tell me again what the syndrome was. BRCA syndrome.
Oh, BRCA. That's it's typically Ashkenazi Jews get it, and it's there's BRCA1. I don't remember what the BRCA stands for, but there's 1 and 2. One of them it's breast cancer, and one of them is very, very, very aggressive and severe. And right now I have so many friends and relatives. In the past, I have one recovering from one part of the surgery, the next one scheduled for next month. It's crazy. And yesterday I was at a breast cancer fundraiser, and Joan London from Good Morning America, that's how most people know her, for the 20 years she was on. She was the speaker and the moderator, and they were unbelievably amazing people there, raising millions and millions, so much money for breast cancer research, and it was a wonderful, wonderful event. I went with my sister, she's actually friends with Joan, and I sat with her daughter, and they want to find out more about what I'm doing here, and so we're going to set up a lunch, and hopefully, you know, something will come of that.
Oh, great. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Oh, yes.
So October, right, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and a
time.
good friend of mine is battling breast cancer as well. So she just went down to a seminar in Florida to learn more about it. She had surgery. She had a couple biopsies. She had a small surgical procedure. She refused to have the lymph nodes taken out, though, along with the breast mass. That was her decision. It was her feeling that the lymph nodes were, hey, this is how I'm fighting my breast cancer. This is my immune system. So I don't want you damaging it. If there's cancer cells in there, well, you know, maybe they're being battled by my own defenses. So she's kind of incorporating marijuana therapy along with nutritional therapy. She's completely changed her diet, and along with at least a modified traditional approach. That is to say, she allowed for the surgery, but she did not allow for the radiation and chemotherapy that the surgeon wanted to do along with the surgery.
Oh, absolutely. Many people these days are deciding against the chemo, and they're trying to do a protocol like this. That's what the person. So this friend of mine has the BRCA. And it's funny, we're trying to figure out what a common factor is, and a few of us grew up in the same town. Of course, I haven't had anything yet, so I guess I don't count yet in the numbers. But other than that, 2 people, that doesn't really, we're trying to find a common thread. Why is this happening?
Yeah. Well, they say breast cancer is the second most common cancer after lung cancer, at least in America. So,
right.
It's
1 in
common.
40.
For women over 40?
No, 1 in 40
1
women.
in 40. 1 in 40 women. How about that?
What do you know about the National Cancer Institute? Not the American Cancer Society, the National Cancer Institute.
Not a lot.
It was just something that came across my Yahoo feed.
Run a lot of, studies.
Well, they
kind.
very quietly announced in whatever publication they have. Probably, I'm just reading about it 3-4 days ago, maybe. The research using mice, and then they got the rest of it right about that cannabinoids can slow the cancer cell growth. It can shrink tumors. It can get to the point where tumors disappear.
Oh, yes.
It can do this without destroying healthy tissue and cells. And it went through, but they just sort of mentioned it, and more research is necessary, and back to other stuff, where it might have been a paragraph's worth.
Yeah.
But the way they say, well, that was a very, very quietly,
Well, you'd think that would be aggressively explored.
I would think.
I've read many articles from them. It's a good source.
Well, it's this is. I think this was in U.S. World End News or something. I don't know if that's online or if it's a magazine. I thought it was a magazine and an online thing, but it seemed credible enough to at least try to verify, because I hadn't heard about it anywhere else.
Right. And certainly the preclinical studies, the studies with animals and studies in the test tube show that marijuana the cannabinoids in marijuana can interrupt the cancer. It can cause cell death, cancer cell death. It can disrupt the tumor's blood supply, the angiogenesis in the tumors, and it can interfere with the metastasis process. So, why, knowing this, why you would not be aggressively exploring this? Like my friend said to me, well, what would be the dose of oils that I would need to take? And I have no idea, because we just haven't done those studies. I don't know what to recommend for somebody with a cancer situation.
I'm working with a company in Massachusetts, and they do all the testing. And I happened to connect with someone when I was on that panel in Brooklyn 2 weeks ago, breast cancer cannabis awareness. And I keep sending. We've been communicating and going through dosing, and that was one of my questions today to him as well. 7 ounces.
Right.
So it's being done. It's being done.
There was when I was doing this, trying to get Cheryl into the federal program, the year that I found out it was no longer accepting applications for the IND program, I'd done my research as best as I could and found there was quite amazing results in studies done in 1988, funded by, it was the United States Public Health or something. It's not even called that, I don't know. And that's where they got their funding, and they used Lewis rats and strain 13 guinea pigs in testing, and got amazing results with the myelin sheath not being so destroyed. Basically, great news for MS. And then that started a 10-year battle with the MS Society to justify why it's not being studied, with them being the largest research organization, they say, in the world, and funding research with MS, that they battled to not say anything good about this. And actually, I got an internal memo that was sent out to all chapters on how to answer questions about marijuana relative to MS and MS spasticity. It was like a whole behind-the-scenes scary, why are they running away from this? I thought I was helping them. I thought they were going to be thrilled. And then I found out they'd already known and were suppressing it.
They've already known what?
Already knew and were. That's why Cheryl and I started going to MS walks, handing out information in '95.
Have you heard of HSCT?
No.
It's neurologists recommend it, and it's a procedure that's done in Chicago, and somehow they reprogram your body. This woman had it done, and she no longer has the signs of MS. We don't know how long it lasts, and
Hope they don't run from that. Run from the cure.
Hello.
There's such a bias towards finding harm with marijuana in all government-funded studies.
And a shout out to Dr. Abe Eastwood. I will never forget you, Dr. Abe. You're probably dead now, but he was the Abe Eastwood. He was with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, and one time, in reaction to what Cheryl and I were doing, his counterpoint in a news article was the reason it's not being studied is studies have not been done to show that it works. I'm like, wait a minute, you're saying because studies have not shown that it works is a reason to not study it. It made no sense. And this was a high official.
Well, that's the same thing that the DEA says. They refuse to allow studies of medical marijuana, and then they say marijuana can't be medicine because there's not enough studies that have been done to prove it. It's some absurd Alice in Wonderland logic.
And they talk about potheads like that, like we don't know what's going on, and they live in a fantasy world.
Yeah. Just
I
using
want to live in
science-
that world. Why can't I live in that world?
Using science to justify their prejudices.
Well, it was like when I went to the Department of Consumer Affairs, and I had my cannabis jar. And I said, how are you Schedule 1 when I have my cannabis here? And she was just like, she couldn't answer.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
She was twitching.
No, we can't make fun of people and their twitches.
Well, she had no answer.
Oh, okay.
And she couldn't figure out an answer, so her brain was just like, yeah, you can't have two laws that say different things. So
She admitted that?
No,
No.
of course not.
Yeah.
She called her boss, and her boss lied and said that the FDA approved drugs are the ones that are scheduled. And you sent me a list of drugs that aren't FDA approved. That are scheduled.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Said.
So they started lying to me at that point. I'm like, okay.
Well, why not? They can get away with it.
They can get
Here
away
we
with
are.
it.
I mean,
Yes.
if you're like, okay, what am I going to do? Then that's just the defense that you apparently can use until the shit hits the fan in a good way. And that's why I'm going back and I'm taking names and dates and places. I'm having my own Nuremberg trials
That's
after
right.
It
this.
looked
so.
like you were getting somewhere, though, with those people, and then
Yeah.
we lost the video or something.
Do you
I
think
don't
it
remember
deserves
what-
a return?
Oh, yeah, we're going to go
Oh,
Are you going back? Yeah.
yes.
Going back
Yes,
to
and
the
I'm,
Division of Consumer Affairs.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm in if
Let's go.
I can. Yep.
Awesome.
And they're what is it on? Is it Kennedy Boulevard in Newark?
No, it's Broad Street, I
Broad Street,
think.
Newark. Okay.
Nice
Right.
building.
Mhm.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You were getting somewhere.
And you know, behind people think of Lefty how they think of him. He wasn't being the Lefty then that people would expect you'd be. You get to the point, and you get to it quickly. You know, you're very, but you're not like, what gives you the right? Blah blah blah. They expect that you're going to be pushing people away. When the really important times, you're not like that at all.
There's a time for that.
Or am I destroying an image here? Is
There's
this
a t-
wrong? Should we not talk about this on the air?
There is a time for that.
You know.
And I enjoy those times.
But you know that the sweeter you are, the more answers you'll get.
It depends. I got 5 wheelchair ramps by being a jerk. Really, the cops were
And
called.
I
was
bet you
threatened.
get 10 for being.
And now we're going to see if we could be nice about it and maybe get 10.
Well, now you have a track record.
Yeah, you want us to be nice? Put a ramp in. We'll be
Yeah.
nice. We'll be really nice.
Yep.
You
Yep.
could have references and say, and you could actually get in touch with any of these people and say, do you want nice Lefty or do you want the Lefty that they got? You
I mean,
know,
just put a ramp in.
I'd go either way here. You know,
Whatever works.
and as I tell everybody, I do like a good fight now and then. You know,
But I'd rather be nice. Yeah, it's more fun being nice and then I shook the guy's hand after the assault trial. We never had the trial. We had mediation. And we shook hands afterwards because I said 30 days, he's going to put a ramp in, I'll drop the charges, no assault charge. So it worked out good.
Portive ramp in or portable?
Whatever.
Yeah, but whatever,
Yeah,
right. You're not
yeah.
demanding. You just want something.
Some way to get in
Yeah.
for handicapped people. And
So we had our meeting, CMM&J meeting on Tuesday night, and it was probably our most diverse meeting. We had.
It was.
It was. I'm sorry we didn't get any photographs.
Well, we don't photograph at meetings. It's like people don't like that.
Yeah,
I know.
sometimes we
At
photograph.
the end, it would have been a good group photo. And what was the man's name who owned that place in Mount Laurel and can be so much help?
Mark Sanders.
Mark Sanders.
Mark Sanders,
And
Sci-Fi Smoke Shop and Glass Gallery. In where was that? In
Mount Laurel.
Mount Laurel. Yeah.
73 in Mount Laurel, not where I live in
Yeah.
Mount Laurel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mark Sanders came, and so he was going to help us with one of the issues that we're having with our website, and also going to set up, help us set up a Teespring where people just can buy swag from CMM&J, and really we don't have to
I like Mark.
invest
He's
in that.
he's
but-
a man of color, which brought extra diversity to our meeting as well. But what I liked is he had a way of being. He's like had his iPad, and he was. Sometimes people are, you're at a meeting. What are you doing that for? But he was able to take part, smiled whenever. He definitely multitasked good. And I like when it came to the part where we were discussing what it was that needed to be done. He's like, I can take care of that for you. That's what I do. And now all of a sudden, I have the smoke and glassware shop, and I do this and that. And I'll take care of that for you. It's all. And then when he wanted to know, so your shirts you're talking about, where do you store them? You want to store some in my shop where people can see them and buy them?
Right.
I'm like, I like that, Mark, because I have shirts in yellow plastic bags that here, where we sell them, okay. But nobody's ever come into my house and said, hey, what's in them yellow plastic bags? And I go, shirts. Can I buy one? That's never happened. That could happen at his shop. He makes such simple sense.
Kim Bitesh, right, from Hollywood Smokin', that she sold a great many of our T-shirts. She bought quite a few of them to have in her store, and she just sold them back, and she didn't make any money off it. We made the profit. CMM&J made the profit for those shirts. So that
what a great
really
business model that is.
Yeah, it was great to have
Shark Tank would be
like
impressed with that.
Yeah. But
overhead, nothing.
The thing that Leo talked about was, I was so excited to hear that Al Sharpton's going to be here in Trenton at Studio B at a brunch. I don't know if you talked about that already.
No, we hadn't. I was
on
hoping
November 18th.
you would.
November
And the
18th.
purpose of that is, in other words, why is Al coming here?
Well,
to have
Al wants to meet with the black pastors in Trenton and to explain to them how important it is for them to support marijuana reform.
I'm amazed to hear that.
So I am so excited. Now, unfortunately,
Al
I
Sharpton,
can't be there.
he
but
will come and talk to the black pastors and say that you need to do more for cannabis legalization in New Jersey.
Right. So this is a real coup.
That's huge.
To have the Reverend Al
That's
Sharpton coming to Trenton on November 18th, and as part of New Jersey
Now,
Cannabis
I would
Commission.
go. It's a prayer brunch, and
Right,
I
a
would
prayer
go, but
brunch.
man, I don't belong at a prayer brunch. I just got to tell you, I don't want to chortle at things that have. I'm just saying, I respect that. That's why I'm not the guy to go.
Well, I'm not a Christian myself, so I'm kind of.
I was born one. I kind of
Huh?
revolted.
What's that?
I was born a Christian.
Right. I was baptized, but I quickly revolted against that. But I mean,
This is, but I
But
I see this as a really good one. Well,
oh yeah, because to me, so many black pastors are part of the problem. Really, they say that they see drugs as the problem. They see and they want to punish the victims of this drug war, and drug addiction and people with substance abuse problems.
That's not very Christian.
I don't think so. And they support what the government is doing, and they're anti-drug, and yes, but they don't realize that it's not the drugs. It's the laws against the drugs that are causing more problems than the drugs are causing themselves.
It's the racist system.
It's destroying the inner city. It's
this is
tearing
November.
Parents away from their children, tearing children away from their parents. It's decreasing the socioeconomic status of so many families. It's resulting in so many abandoned houses here in the city of Trenton. It's contributing to the increasing violence. This is a nightmare scenario that we have to work our way out of, and the black pastors need to understand their role in helping to a new approach to the problem of the problem of drugs in America.
And Al Sharpton's come to try to
take
care of that.
And Al Sharpton is going to come to Trenton and talk about that.
Well,
and I want you to be there on November 18th, brunch at the Studio B.
Oh, boy.
Where is that?
A brunch, Studio B, right here on Broad Street, right down the street, right across from the arena there.
Okay.
I don't know what they call the arena these days, but right on 129, right down this.
Hamilton.
Huh?
At the foot of Hamilton.
Yes, at Hamilton and South Broad, exactly.
All right.
And not far from the New Jersey State Prison.
What day is that? Is that a weekend?
That's a Saturday.
And this is
Saturday, November 18th.
A week and a half after we'll have a different governor elected.
Right.
So it will be Christie's lame duck session where Al Sharpton's going to come and try to jumpstart things. And this is so timely. I mean, so incredibly timely that I'm sure assuming it's Phil Murphy, if he's elected, he's probably going to be pretty happy about that because he's going to be wanting to convince people legalization is here. We're going to do this, and this helps push everything the way it's going already.
Yeah. Now, of course, Al Sharpton is a controversial figure. He's some people say that he's divisive, and he jumped on some issues he probably shouldn't have jumped on, like Tawana Brawley. But
that was a mistake.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
People make mistakes, and I'll tell you, I've listened to him, and I'm very impressed with him, with hearing how he speaks. Reverend Sharpton, really, I've got his back. I'll tell you. I'm very impressed with how he presents himself, how articulate he is, and
I think he's gotten better
at the social justice.
At the expo in Boston.
You what?
He was at the expo in Boston.
Oh, he was at the expo.
I think he's certainly gotten a lot.
Did you hear him speak?
Less divisive.
I didn't. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time he did impress me is a long time ago, and I remember it, and it was Tawana Brawley started
right.
And he went to confront somebody, and it was a little stoop, and when the guy opened the door, he kind of grabbed him and made sure he came out onto the stoop, almost like he'd shake hands and grab somebody, and some pushing and shoving happened, and I watched it happen, and he explained it to somebody on a news show, and the guy said something about there are so many holes in that story. He goes, there's not that many holes. There are not that many holes in my story. You don't say stuff like that. There are not that many. Oh, I got a few holes. This is true. But this was like back when he was more openly passionate, and that would cause some divisiveness at times too.
Right.
But I am thrilled he's coming because he's just the guy to get the conversation to a whole different level in a community that needs to be having the conversation.
And now, I don't know how old you are, but Reverend Martin Luther King was controversial back in his day. When he was alive. We revere him now. We have a national holiday named after him. But back in the day, he was quite controversial himself. So,
he might have evolved on a few issues by now, also.
Well, controversy then was kind of easy to have compared to now. Even things were kind of backward with race relations at the time and the way things were. But he, the vision of what he did, I thought was just genius. It was so knowing what would happen walking over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, knowing what was going to go down, and realizing there was going to be a lot of television cameras there. And, you know, TV was about a dozen years old at that time. It was, you know, and the visions of somebody scooting along the sidewalk with a hose on them, a water cannon. It was like, you know, I mean, a fire hose, and German shepherds, you know, cowering, hiding, scared people, and man, see, it still affects me now. So he got the job done like that. Got to make me wonder if Lefty isn't going to hit that grand slam himself one day doing something like that. Just, you know, knowing the importance of the right optic at the right time.
It might happen next week. Next week could be huge.
What's happening next week?
I might be in a room with Nick Scattori.
Can I come?
Absolutely.
Oh.
And I'd like to talk to him about a few things other than my case, because my case should be dropped. I'd like to know if they're going to prosecute my case, I'd like to know why they're going to go through this, because Birch is not going to perjure himself on the stand. So why are we going through this charade and putting a patient through? All I think about is Cheryl Miller going through this, being pushed around in the bed, going courtroom to courtroom to courtroom to courtroom for her. Because this could happen.
Have you filed any counter charges?
I have paperwork in the car. I'm filing suit today, actually, yeah.
You are filing suit? And what's the suit, Lefty?
Let's see. It was dereliction of duty. I had a bunch of things here. Illegal detainment. What's it called? False arrest.
False arrest. Mm-hmm.
False imprisonment. Violating Kuma.
Excessive force.
Oh, thank you. Excessive force.
Well, you know, there were times when...
You're doing all this paperwork yourself?
Yes.
Excessive force. I mean, you know, play it the way they do. Okay, tell you what, I'll throw out excessive force, but I'm going forward with this. What do you got? You know, when does it get dropped? And I, you know, have been asked to be a witness, so I will be available because I did witness a lot of it. That would be pretty strange.
Yeah, the whole thing is...
I'm hoping not,
yeah,
but I'll be there for you.
They're supposed to make this go away. But how do you make this go away when we do a podcast in front of the State House and I'm supposed to talk about things and I can't talk about being victimized?
Oh, come on. When has that ever stopped you?
So, yeah.
Arn, I'd like to talk about it, but I'm not supposed to.
I'm not supposed to talk about my victimization.
Only by court order, that would make sense. Other than that, I'm not buying it.
So we'll see what prosecutor I get next week.
Yep.
It's like a crapshoot. They're throwing different prosecutors at me every week. It's like...
How about some kind of public defender? Or do you qualify for that?
No, I
don't. Can you get that?
No.
You can't get that at all?
No, and I'm not using ethics in this at all. I'm throwing ethics out the door.
You're not?
I don't want any ethics. I don't use ethics. I'm not a lawyer. That's a joke.
Well, non-lawyers can say things that lawyers can't say.
That's Ed Fortune taught me that.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, he can. Yeah, you can make your own statement and not be cross-examined. That's one thing about being your own lawyer. You can't cross-examine yourself, so they can't cross-examine you. Mm-hmm. You can talk a lot of crap. I want to put them on the stand. I want to put their office on the stand for prosecuting 3 times the amount of black people and Latinos to white people. And Linden, it's more like 10 to 1. The statewide is like 3 to 1. Mm-hmm. Linden's like 10 to 1. I'm like the only white guy in there being prosecuted for weed.
Yeah, I went to the last showing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And pretty much, whenever we saw a white person, it ended up to be a lawyer or a translator or...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that this... Yeah. It's eye-opening. And they don't like cameras in there, and I can see why. I can see why they're trying to hide this. Because they said I can't film them. I said, yes, I can. You know the law. Yes, I can film you. We pay her salary.
Who told you that?
The prosecutor.
And that's when you called her a dumbass.
Yes, she's a dumbass. And she went to the judge and said, Your Honor, what did she say, Amy? Were you there? Yes, what did she say?
He cursed at me. He's making
called me a dumbass.
He called me.
Mr. Grimes, don't call people dumbass.
Just Mr. Grimes, please don't call the prosecutor any names.
Did you say don't be one, or because
And I said, you are a dumbass.
Okay,
yeah, it wasn't like Governor Christie where I
Right.
said, don't be a pussy. No,
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah, I didn't call you. I said, don't
Well,
be
different
one.
courts have different rules about cameras. I mean, they can't have a camera in the Menendez trial in federal court.
Right.
That's why they have to have these courtroom artists and people
Right.
taking notes in the courtroom.
This is
So-
outside the court. This is outside in the prosecutor's office. Separate.
In the prosecutor's office.
Separate, yeah.
It's going to be you and a judge.
But now you're telling me you have permission to film inside Ed Fortune's
Yeah, we're
trial.
gonna get permission.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
So if you can do that, and that's Superior Court, I guess,
Yeah.
and you're in municipal court,
yeah,
so it seems like you should be able to film in municipal court.
the
if you
judge is great. She's so she loves me.
The Superior Court
yeah,
judge?
the first time, no, the my judge.
Oh, your
the
judge.
first time I was in there, I had
Which one?
yeah, my judge. I had a "Don't shoot, I'm running away" shirt, and I walked out of the courtroom because I was pissed off, and I'm walking out talking. Blah, 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 blah. She goes, "Mr. Grimes, don't be talking crap as you leave my courtroom." The judge was mad at me, but she saw the shirt. "Don't shoot, I'm running away." So when I came back in 5 minutes later, she was sweet as pie to me. She gets it. She knows what I'm in. She knows what I'm doing. Because the next week I wore "Don't shoot, I'm Haitian," and she gets it. She gets it.
Yeah.
She's a woman of color. My judge. So, yeah.
Yep.
I think she's in the system for the same reason we're all doing this. You want to change things. You want to fix things. So I think she wants to fix things, it seems.
Yeah.
Very fair judge, very nice judge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was impressive.
The prosecutor's office? No. They're a mess. They're a racist, bunch of racist scum. Bloodsuckers.
What's the penalty if things don't work out right for you?
$500.
So basically, you get to do all this with a maximum penalty that isn't going to change your life.
No. Or a contempt charge, but I don't see that
No,
happening.
don't do that.
I don't see that happening.
No,
No.
just
I think
No.
you making it through without a contempt charge would be something you could quite well brag
It's a
about.
goal of mine. It's one
You
of my
know?
goals.
You know,
well, you know what? It would all be for naught if you didn't.
no.
No, I want to help.
No, you get it.
I want
You
to fix
get it.
this. Somehow we're going to do the right thing. It's going to happen. It's going to work out.
Oh,
It is. We're going to.
it's going to happen.
It's going to work out, man. Don't worry. We're going to get our message. We'll get to Scutari.
Don't worry, Edward. Everything's going to be all right.
It's going to be good.
No, it's actually fairly impressive when after
Yeah.
after you did what you did on purpose just to cause a scene.
That's crazy. People say that, and there are people that actually are mad at me for that. I think I broke it on purpose.
Dr. Medvedovsky asked me about Lefty at my first
Meeting.
meeting appointment.
Appointment.
Yes. That'll fly by where I can grab it. There it is, appointment. Yeah, and I had to explain it to him. No, he didn't shatter it on the ground. And then when I explained, I said, "Listen, you might not know Left at all as well as I do, but one thing you can guess about him, he loves his cannabis.
It was full of weed.
He would never."
It was full.
And he thought, "Yeah, that's I never thought of that."
It wasn't helpful. It didn't help the situation. There was no. I was lighting up a joint. That was my.
Then you spit it out.
Ah.
We've already handled that. His hands were behind his back. How else do you get a joint out of your mouth without asking them, which you didn't want to show up? I say, "Would you please remove the joint from my mouth?" Well, you couldn't do that. That would make him look bad. So you let go of it, and it, not like you went,
Right.
which is what they make it sound like.
If I did it on purpose, I'd have all my cameras out. My camera was in my pocket.
Well, actually,
There was not a setup.
there is 2 or 3 things in the police report that if you can say something about them, like spitting, that it's all geared. It's like somebody saying he yelled at me. No, I yelled to you. It's very subtle, but it's totally different.
Yeah.
The governor said I yelled at him. For all at one of his town halls, I was yelling at him. "You're 50 feet away." Say, "Gov." Why didn't he turn around? Say, "Gov." And plus it involved a dead baby, and I was angry, but never mind.
It's almost 2 o'clock. I've got a couple more things to bring up. The CMMNJ taping is going to be at Princeton TV Studio on Tuesday, November 28th at 10 a.m. So if you know anybody with a compelling marijuana story, I'd love to interview that person.
Cool.
Right now, it looks like Mike Brennan is going to be my guest, but we have room for two more guests. So on the 28th. That's a Tuesday. And Help Not Handcuffs is doing a great group in Asbury Park.
Randy Thompson.
Yeah, Randy Thompson. He's down at the Drug Policy Alliance conference in Atlanta right now. But he's coming back to have a fundraiser on October 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. And that's it's a Saturday, 6 to 9 p.m. $25 donation suggested.
A fundraiser for?
Well, for his organization. He's, you know, he's not only working to decriminalize marijuana, to reform marijuana. He's got a number of issues for drug policy reform altogether in New Jersey. But not only in New Jersey, but he's also working with the UN. He has been accepted as one of the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, that will be providing official input into the UN drug policy.
Well,
So-
you know, that's very important when it comes to talking about treaties that have to
Right.
do with, and that's probably why he's going to be there, because he knows that.
Right.
International treaties.
Right.
We use cannabis sometimes as a country in treaties when we make them that kind of push people away from it as
Sure.
part of the bargain.
Sure. And we were I was there in April at the UN to testify. Well, I've submitted written testimony about the drug policy, that the marijuana policy should be redone, but they didn't do that. We had hoped that there would be some significant reform coming from the April drug policy conference at the UN in New York, but nothing really came of that, unfortunately. The fix was in. They decided what they were going to decide before the conference was held. But the next conference coming up, I believe, is in 2019, and you know, there'll be another chance to advocate for international marijuana reform at the United Nations in New York. And Help Not Handcuffs is one of the organizations that's leading the charge on this. So we certainly want to give them a shout out and support them in however we can. They got, Randy, his group got the Asbury Park City Council and Mayor to endorse a resolution supporting legalization of marijuana. So I testified at that. They had J.H. Barr from the Municipal Prosecutors Association. Justin Alpert was there. So a number of people were there.
Was that part of the lowest priority initiative or a separate thing? In other words, they endorsed legalization.
No, it wasn't lowest priority.
It was just a...
Yeah, it was a symbolic
Have other
resolution to endorse
communities or
legalization.
towns
But
done that?
it passed unanimously, and City Council and the mayor signed it.
Have other communities that we know of done that
No.
kind of thing?
No,
See,
I introduced a similar-
he keeps doing first of a kind things as a template for others.
Right, it is.
That's why I really admire what he does. Is he goes where people haven't before, and when he's successful, you know, we get to use that as a template
Right.
to do it somewhere else.
And well, right now, you know, I introduced a template to this Trenton City Council, but they wouldn't even really discuss it. But now we're in dialogue with some of the council persons in the city of Trenton, the at-large councilmen and the councilmen from the various wards in Trenton. So you know, we're making some progress there. You know, and hopefully the city of Trenton will. The officials in the city of Trenton will come to understand what an important issue this is for the city of Trenton.
Awesome.
Very nice.
I want to thank CMMNJ.org for their great work, for allowing us all to be able to smoke our cannabis here. We're all patients here at this table. It's
Yes.
funny how, like, lately, the whole table's been full of patients. It's getting better.
Well, you know,
I think we're going to be seeing more and more patients in the state of New Jersey, you know,
I do.
in years to
And
come.
you weren't here, real quickly, a nutshell, related that when I went my first time to repurchase some medicine, I was talking to a couple they were talking to me, and when the one man said, yeah, I'm here because I got PTSD. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure I know about when you were allowed to get a card. And somehow knew, and I explained to him, our really long effort.
Right.
And that really made me feel good. Not like patting us on the back, just like, because so many, and then 2 people in front of him, another veteran, and when we were inside later and he hadn't ordered his, he walked over and he apologized for eavesdropping and said he wanted to thank all, the coalition for all that we've done. And I said, well, first, thank you for your service. He goes, no, thank you for your service. And it was so.
Yeah. What ATC was that?
Pardon me?
What ATC were you in?
Compassionate Science.
Compassionate Science.
Yeah. And but it was just that's like 2 people right there. I know there were hundreds and hundreds that got into the program kind of all at once. And it's good enough for me to not know them, to know they're there, but when you actually see somebody's face, and the first guy was a little more active, the second guy kind of stood with his head down. He wasn't engaging otherwise. So he had that posture and had to actually lift his head up to look me in the face and talk for a minute. It seemed like he was stepping out of a comfort zone to say thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Very nice.
It was.
Very nice.
We're doing the right thing. I mean, we're all doing the right thing. And they're there. We know it, even if we don't see them. So.
Yeah, it's nice to be acknowledged.
Yeah. It's nice to know that it's true. It helps.
One question. With legalization next year, are patients going to be left out? Are we going to get anything? What's going to happen to us? Are we still going to have to pay all these fees and cards?
Well, the law as written now, or the bill as written now, says that it's not going to interfere with any of the rights or privileges of medical marijuana patients, the legalization bill. So
it'll get rid of the
you'll still
sales
be
tax.
even if you're going to you're going to rescind the sales tax. So there's going to be an immediate 7% savings on the medicine that you buy.
Okay, so it's going to affect the medical law. This recreational law does affect the medical law.
Well,
in some ways.
So
In a
far in a
way.
positive way, as far as we know.
It gets rid of the sales tax. Sure.
So home grow can be put into this for patients.
Home grow,
For
well,
patients.
it can be, yes, but I mean it hasn't been yet. So
Just for patients.
yeah, right.
Technically, it could be.
It could be,
Or it could also be done as a standalone bill at the same time.
yeah. Or an amendment to the Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act, which is a different bill than Senator Scutari's.
This is not off the top of our head.
Right.
We have
I
had this
know.
discussion, and I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, it does seem like that patients, because it was already passed in 2009 out of the Senate, and then, of course, yanked out during the Assembly version of the bill, that it's not a new concept. It was passed in the Senate already back when it was harder to get things done. This is virtually dark ages 2009 compared to
really.
now. So I think it's entirely realistic to say that patients had the rug yanked out from under them once already, and that when they first heard rumors of maybe legalization, they knew that other states that legalize have home grow provisions, and there were patients for real that got their hopes up thinking, good, maybe if I couldn't get it as a patient, at least as an adult, I'll be able to grow my own.
Absolutely. And Lefty, think about that. I mean, think about all the people who don't have to go to a doctor every 30, 60, or 90 days for a prescription renewal, but can just walk into a store and buy it, like an over-the-counter medicine like aspirin. You know, it's going to be a tremendous help to so many patients who are not currently taking part in the program.
Those that can afford to walk in or get in and buy, but we don't know what social use of cannabis is going to cost, the cannabis itself, what the final consumer cost is going to be, and patients may not be able to afford that any more than they can afford cannabis from a dispensary.
They
can afford some, but not enough.
For the first couple of years anyway, so as we work this out, the first couple of years the tax, at least the schedule that Senator Scutari proposed, is going to be lower in the first couple of years. So, there will be a little sweetening of the pot. But
well, I will always be interested in seeing what we can do to get patients to be able to grow their own, or I think it's an effort that's deserved, and even if it's not successful, patients need to know we tried,
Right.
That's my goal next week then.
Wow, next week? You're quick. I was kind of hoping we get this done next year, but next week's cool.
I'm working on, I'm planning a sunroof in my, so I can have a little grow room in my attic. That's
Nice.
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 Yeah, I'm a carpenter.
that's my dream. I don't know what yours is.
My goal is not to get a contempt charge. That's my goal.
Well, my goal is to grow indoors as a patient, and they're going to go ahead and say, well, you can have however many plants, and I'm going to introduce them to what a 24-hour light cycle means without trimming or topping. That you can get a long, stringy sort of plant to bend it over, and then as it gets bent over and it's growing there, then you top it, and everything grows up, and it looks like lots of plants. But it's one rooted plant bent over, then topped, then growing up. So somebody could go and go, yeah, you're in violation. How many plants is it? It's one.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why it doesn't make sense to.
No, I mean the whole 1 plant, 5 plants, just,
Yeah.
you know, but anything is better than
That's
nothing.
really why a canopy,
Right.
really makes more sense to say you can grow a 12 by 12 canopy.
Yeah.
And rather than a number of plants.
And when it comes to
You may want
canopy-
to have some immature growing, and you may want to have some mature plants, but a certain footage of greenery is actually
I like
a
that.
more reasonable
And, you know,
situation
and
rather
we
than
That's a
we
very
do
clever
know
idea.
I like that.
we do
Canopy
know
of
the definitive expert on canopy, Chris Conrad.
Chris Conrad, yeah, absolutely.
And,
I interviewed him on CMM and JTV.
Yeah.
So he's written Hemp for Victory. He's written a number of books
yeah,
about it, and wrote dosages and guides for cannabis. He's a court-certified expert. This is a man in California who, and his wife Mickey Norris,
Go-to guy.
Yes.
who really
The
have
couple,
devoted
yeah.
their lives to this issue. And,
They were good.
Are real experts
good.
on it. And he's the one who first proposed the green canopy as opposed to a
Yeah.
plant count. So,
I read that and it made perfect sense, and
yeah.
they're great people. I mean, they're-
Chris and Mickey really are terrific.
Been around forever.
MagicalButter.com, SativaCross.com, Happy Daddy Products, NewJerseyWeedman.com. Stop right there. We were supposed to get a call from him, but I guess we never got that call. He has court next week. We're going to go there. I'm hoping to Facebook Live it. That would be great. It's a shame.
Surreptitiously, in secret?
Well, I'm allowed to have cameras.
Or didn't come out surreptitiously?
Surreptitiously? I'll have 2 cameras on each side of the courtroom, like I did last time, and a camera somewhere for live streaming.
I hope you're able to do that.
That'd be good. Yeah, poor Ed, man. How long is this going to take now? Jury selection and then a trial?
That'll start the clock back, though, at 0.
Usually about a week.
A week of jury selection and a week of trial.
No. Maybe 2 days for jury selection and 5 days for a trial.
That's probably about it.
Honeybee, are you there? She's been on the line for 40 minutes.
Oh, we put her to sleep.
I'm not sure if you can even hear me. Honeybee, can you hear me? We're not working. Yeah, we're having problems today.
Oh, that's different.
That's. I don't think Honeybee's here. I can't hear her.
Well, you'll have to.
Honeybee? Honeybee? Honeybee.
You'll have
Say
to go
something,
to
Honeybee. Really? I can't hear you, Honeybee. It's not me.
No.
It's not me. Okay, never mind.
She get tired of waiting. She's got better things to do.
DavidVersusAutism.org, Blue Planet Biotech, Run, New Jersey. Thanksgiving's coming up next month, big party. Medical-freedom.com. William Haney's flags are available at medical-freedom.com. Can of Sense, New Jersey Grannies for Grass, Tuffy's Fight, Legalize for Lorelei, Prayers for Sarah, prayers for Pete, jacksonstorms.com. Can you hear, Honeybee, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, you were muted. It wasn't me.
No, I'm not muted.
Yeah, mute.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, are you sleeping in a pot field again, or are you at work?
No, I'm at work today.
In a pot field? You just
I
have,
was earlier.
You have pot fields everywhere in Oregon. Must be so nice.
Everyone. It is.
Everyone has a field of pot in their house, in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
You're going to be like that soon.
Jenny's Purple Ribbon Journey. I never got a call back from Senator Cruz's office. Jenna's Journey, Women's Veterans Collective, Weed for Warriors. And first on our list, is somebody's phone buzzing or something? Okay, thank you. That's a nice book. I like the water effect at the end. But yeah, this is the reason why we do this, is this list here. We want to keep the memory of all these people here alive in our hearts. People like Cheryl was an inspiration to a lot of us. Because she fought for something that she knew she'd never have in her lifetime, but she fought for you to get yours. Pay it forward.
And of course, we did celebrate the 20th anniversary of our civil disobedience right next door at the State House on October 10th, 1997. So, quite right, she knew that it wouldn't be in time for her, but as she would say, there's a lot more other Cheryl and Jims out there that have more time. So,
how do we reach those Cheryl and Jims that are out there?
I don't know. That's the holy grail. Just be available for them when we do. Be ready. They're there.
A lot of these people are shut-ins. They don't leave. Like I've seen this in Bayonne with my own family, because you can't get into a lot of these businesses with steps. So these people stay home. They don't go out. They don't have the same lives that we do. A lot of them suffer in silence. They suffer by themselves. Luckily, Cheryl had a support system. Luckily, Cheryl had you. But some people don't have that. I can't imagine having MS and just being by myself and just fending for myself like that. And it's happening out there. Sabina Rose. As Laura pulls up with her beautiful baby. We talk about another beautiful baby who didn't make it. She died waiting for her cannabis card. She would have had it in 2 weeks. That card would have came within 2 weeks. But they made Sabina Rose go to a psychiatrist at 1 year. She was a year old, and they made her go to a psychiatrist. One of the hoops to jump through to get a cannabis card.
I mean, what they say, she has the intelligence of a 13-month-old instead of a 12-month-old. I mean, how do you... Yeah.
So they wasted time, and that time that they wasted with this poor little girl killed her. She only had 15 months on the earth, and she spent a quarter of that time trying to get her medicine that she needed. And her parents weren't about to break the law. Because either way, if you break the law, her daughter goes into a foster home and then they kill her. Because how are they going to take care of a kid with Dravet, a foster parent? Really? Because that's what happens with cannabis. They take your kids away. Diane Ripatella. Gracie was a little girl from Pennsylvania. Cindy May was a little girl. Marie died from cancer. Jack died from brain cancer. He was a kid. I think he was, what, 10 years old? From Colorado? Man. Hey, Jason. How you doing, buddy? We're here at the sad part of the show, so...
Yeah, we're wallowing in sadness.
Yeah, this is really bad. This is really bad, man. All these people that are suffering on this list, man, it shouldn't be happening.
Could be the reason we're here every week, though.
Yeah.
I think if people wonder why are they here every week, come watch the end of the show.
Joan Ford, it's William's mom, she wrote a book about epilepsy. The nuns used to throw holy water on her when she was having her seizures. They should have been throwing cannabis oil on her.
Yeah, the 40s.
Wow, that is shocking they did that. Wow.
That is shocking. That's almost satanic.
Yeah.
That's a satanic Christian.
Oh my gosh.
Randy Robertson had the Whipple procedure, and the Whipple procedure is a very expensive way of saying that they take all of your organs out. I think you get some of them back. I don't know. They take a lot
That
of
sounds
them.
satanic too. Oh my goodness.
That's money. That's very expensive. Whipple procedure? Come on. You call a name like that? That's money. They probably got a hospital wing named after that guy.
At least a bench.
A bench? Dr. Whipple, you get a bench.
Bus stop. and a mile on the highway named after you. But you got to clean up.
Adopt the highway.
But you got to keep it clean.
It's terrible. They just should have given Randy Robertson some cannabis, man. Screw that Whipple procedure. He was doing so much better on cannabis. He got oil from his friend. I'm going to play his speech next week. It was a very, very moving speech that he made.
He should, yeah.
It was really good. And it'll make you cry. Because he's fighting for his life and for his daughters. And it turned out he didn't make it, but he was fighting for a while. And using cannabis at the end of his life to help him. And it did help him a lot. He didn't get it early enough, though. In Pennsylvania, you can't get this oil. You can't get what you need. Chad died from brain cancer because he needed oil 2 years earlier. Couldn't get it. You need like a gram a day. That's the dose, from what I hear. 1 gram of oil a day, which is a lot. You'll be knocked out. For 90 days, you got to do that shit. If you got cancer, that's what I hear the dose is. Some people take less, but I'm hearing a gram a day. That's a lot. It's expensive, too. Maybe that's a dose to get you off opiates, too. I'd like to find out.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I wish I had oil when I was getting off those damn pills. It would have saved me a lot of withdrawal and a lot of stress. Because it was painful. Because I have back pain to deal with, too. So I wish I had cannabis oil for withdrawal. Bill Buckman. was my lawyer a couple times. A good guy. Yeah, Chad's on our list here for brain cancer. The thing about Chad, when they found out he had brain cancer, his father killed himself, leaving Iris, his mother, to do this all by herself. She had no clue what the hell to do. And she got in touch with Cindy. And Cindy got in touch with us, and we got them a magical butter machine and helped them make some oil and some butter. But it was 2 years too late. He had a card, but it was 2 years too late. At least he got quality of life at the end. So there's that. Jeremy is Joanne's husband. He's a victim of the drug war. The drug war killed this guy. Because I tell you what, if they stopped me from using cannabis, I'd be doing something else too. And the drug war made him a victim. They ruined his family just for growing a plant, a beautiful, unbelievably great plant that I would have used. Yeah, it's sad. His whole family was broken up over this. Thank you, Harry Anslinger. Thanks a lot. Colette is Jeff's mom. She died from MS. Matt, Troy from pancreatic cancer. Russ Perry, Roger Barber, and we're going to do something. We're going to call her this week. I'm going to call her after this. I'm going to start the ball rolling with that. Jay Oleto, he died 2 weeks before. He called me 2 weeks before he died, looking for a cannabis card. But it was much easier for him to get heroin on the corner than it was to get his card, so. Ella Bagelman. Bye, Ken. Hattie Koshel.
And Michael Dillon.
Michael Dillon had a drop seizure because he had epilepsy.
And now his mama closes the show for us every week.
Yep. Thank you. Oh, goodness. You there?
Yeah, I'm just letting it linger because it sucks. And, yeah, this list sucks.
It causes an unplanned moment of silence pretty often.
You ready?
Nope.
We're never ready, but it is time.
All right. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.